again to another episode of You'll Only Listen Twice, our Bond review podcast where we're taking a look at all the Bond films, both official and unofficial. This week will be very special, but before we get to that, introductions. It's me, Jake. I'm back.
I'm Troy. I think I'm nailing down my Roger Moore impression.
It's very good.
Yes, I'm trying.
And I'm the nostalgia critic. I remember it so you don't have to. And today we're going to be looking at The Spy Who Loved Me. It's considered one of the best James Bond movies, but maybe we have nostalgia blinders on. We're going to take a look and find out.
Wow. Why thank you, Doug.
That wasn't even-handed enough.
Should my pitch have been higher?
You should be blowing out the mic.
Your pitch has to be a sine wave.
Why does it look like it's mine? Does it make no sense?
Well, you need to, if only we could see you in the actual podcast, you need to stare into our souls for 15 seconds too long.
Yes, it's the pause after the joke. Why does Largo have that eye patch? What is he? A bad guy?
Why does it look like Giza? Why does it look like Giza?
Why does it look like Egypt? It looks just like the Luxor.
Why is Bond a still in that wide shot? That looks weird.
Sorry, I was still in character for Halloween, which was months ago because, as we all know, this is after Christmas.
Yes, this is after Christmas.
We shot all these episodes in a frantic rush after November 8th.
Oh yeah, no, we're all settled. Everything is totally normal now.
How do we feel about, are we excited for this new year of 2021, guys?
Wait, oh yeah.
I am so happy because 2020 was the worst year ever, and we can finally put it to rest. 2021, nothing bad has happened yet.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The American
government, I fully trust.
Okay, good.
Oh, very good.
The American government, I fully trust. Okay, good. Paul Snow.
You know, the American government has spies, and you know who else is a spy?
Matahari?
Felix Leiter.
Felix Leiter, who is not in The Spy Who Loved Me, which is the movie that we're going to talk.
Yes.
Which might be why it's good. Is Felix actually what's holding James Bond back?
Yeah, get the Americans out of here.
Yeah, I don't know. Felix
fuck
just
him.
kind of is a
Get him
waste of
outta
time
here.
whenever he's in a movie, right? Someone should feed him to a shark.
Don't do that.
Felix.
That's too soon. I'm shutting your butt down. Today we're talking about The Spy Who Loved Me.
Like heaven above me, the spy who loved me.
So, Jake, tell us about The Spy Who Loved Me. So, is there any fun backstory to this one, or is it just...
Actually, this
was a nightmare.
Yes. So Harry Saltzman, we all know Harry Saltzman, the jovial carny man who has been the co-producer on all the Bond films up to this point.
He had a breakdown.
Let's just say he made some bad investments. He tried to buy Technicolor. And to do this, he put up his shares of the Bond franchise as collateral with the Swiss bank.
That's always a good sign.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah,
this is not a bit. And
as opposed to our normal financial bits.
Yes, the Swiss bank kept a knocking, going where's our money? Because the Technicolor thing fell through. And Harry Saltzman was losing money. Also, his wife had breast cancer, so he was distracted with that, and he was putting off of repaying the loan. And finally, the Swiss bank was like, we're going to come after your shares. We're going to own half of Bond. And then Albert R. Broccoli's like, what the fuck? So they were trying to desperately find someone who could buy Harry Saltzman's shares. At first, they were going to go to this one guy that Harry Saltzman's assistant knew about. That fell through. And then Albert R. Broccoli was like, I'll just buy your shares. Harry Saltzman's like, nah. So then they figured out United Artists will pay for Harry Saltzman's shares. So they will own half of James Bond as a silent partner, which makes sense. They distributed all the movies. Apparently, Saltzman was trying to go to Columbia Pictures to sell his shares, which is kind of batshit. Like, United Artists is like, what the fuck? Why would you do that?
Yeah, and apparently Harry Saltzman was like throwing off the whole release schedule because he was being such a
well, because of
his
because of it was this whole difficult ordeal, and United Artists really wanted a new Bond movie, even though Man with the Golden Gun didn't do great.
By Bond standards.
It did fine, normal movie-wise, but Bond, I'm like, no, it's got to make more money. So with that out of the way, Albert R. Broccoli was like, all right, we're getting ready to do The Spy Who Loved Me, and we're going to go big on this one. We're going to spend $14 million instead of $7 million. And United Artists is like, by God, you're crazy. The last one barely made its money back. And he's just like, no, you got to go big. They brought in a whole bunch of people to write the script. They had to completely throw out Ian Fleming's book because a clause in the contract was that they could use the name The Spy Who Loved Me, but they couldn't adapt anything from the book The Spy Who Loved Me because
the book's a really weird thing, right? It's all told from like the woman's perspective, and it's about James Bond trying to save her, who's a hotel clerk.
It was told from the first person account of a woman who gets into all sorts of trouble. Then she gets mixed up with Bond fighting Spectre, and Bond's in the book only briefly. So this was Ian Fleming trying to go like, all right, I'm going to break up the formula. I'm going to write from the point of view of a woman.
Oh boy.
Which, if you know Ian Fleming, this is it's a bold strategy.
Bold strategy, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, Ian Fleming, he could write his spy novels, but doing a first-person account of a woman in the middle of a spy adventure, I mean, if you've read any of the other James Bond books, like Live and Let Die especially, you're like, that's not going to go over well. That's not a good idea. And of course, everyone hated it, and everyone's like, why did you do this? How dare you? And Ian Fleming's like, you're right. I'm sorry. Never adapt this.
I will never try to be intersectional again. I apologize.
I'm going to go die now, actually.
Your attempts at intersectionality backfired spectacularly, and you've set back women's rights like 50 years.
It's amazing when someone is so racist, then when they try to go woke, everyone says, we preferred you when you were racist.
That's what I felt watching Live and Let Die. I'm like, no, this has gone horribly, horribly wrong. But speaking of the writing team, I was reading about how they went to adapt The Spy Who Loved Me as the first original Eon Bond story. And apparently the first draft that Richard Maybaum wrote was going to be like a coalition of actual terrorist groups. Like,
yes.
Like all the Berlin groups, the IRA, other groups that may or may not still be active. But they all team up and they kick Blofeld out of Spectre. And he's like trying to take back Spectre. But then he couldn't use that because of Kevin McClory.
Yes. Getting to that.
Kevin back?
Kevin is back.
Yeah.
Kevin's back. And he brought lawyers.
Okay, so at this point, because of all the legal chaos with Saltzman and how long it took to get The Spy Who Loved Me rolling, Kevin McClory's was able to adapt Thunderball again because his deal was he signed a non-compete clause where it's just like, okay, you can't make any attempts to make a Thunderball remake from 1965 to like the early 70s or like 73 or 74 or something like that. And so that was out of the window. So he's just like, guess what? I'm back, baby. And guess who's with me? Sean Connery. So he was apparently...
And his brother Neil.
There's just a couple of guys. They're reuniting the Dream Team.
I like to imagine Kevin McClory as the evil Irish wizard from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
He is basically.
Not far off.
He just has like an evil Celtic layer.
If you're looking at Bond history through the perspective of Eon, he basically is, because he just keeps coming back to just fuck shit up.
Yeah, he's Connor Coughlin from Halloween 3.
Like, it's funny, not only was McClory trying to do this with Connery, one of the projects that Harry Saltzman was like losing money on was a movie where he was going to make Sean Connery play like an early First Nation, like Medi I don't know if I'm saying that right, an early First Nations leader in Canadian history. So like Albert Broccoli's just surrounded by Sean Connery, just like trying to make projects to screw him over.
Basically.
Classic.
McClory was saying that he had written the script himself along with spy novelist Len Dayton and our friend Sean Connery. And apparently fan groups were very excited about the prospect of Sean Connery coming back. They're like, hell yeah, the man with the golden gun sucked ass. The incorrect opinion.
Yes, the incorrect opinion.
The incorrect
they were wrong
opinion.
then and they're wrong today.
Yes. So everybody didn't like the man with the golden gun, and they were happy to see Sean Connery back because this was like a dire period between, what was it? Man with the Golden Gun came out in 1974. Spy Love Me was 1977. These 3 years.
A 3-year delay between Bond films? A whole 3 years?
This was an eternity back in the day.
Who can wait 3 years for a James Bond movie?
I know. I mean, can you imagine waiting 6 years for a Bond movie?
Can you imagine waiting like 5, like at least once a decade, if not more?
Well, back then it was worse because every year that goes by, Roger Moore's mole gets more aggressive.
Yes.
Roger Moore's mole gets more agency, like it's ratatouilleing him from his face.
He starts taking over his face.
Wait, did you guys ever watch, was it Moody's Point or was it iCarly? It was some Nickelodeon show where the mole...
Troy,
has,
I'm
like,
27 years old. What are you talking about?
There's like a mole that takes over someone's face and has intrusive thoughts and like talks to them.
I think that's Moody's Point, right?
Yes, it's Moody's Point, a sketch from the Amanda Show. And it's like a mole that is like driving them to be insane and to act out. That's what Roger Moore's mole was doing in the 70s through the mid 80s.
Yes.
Everyone remember Moody's Point from the Amanda Show?
Doesn't matter that I will not beat you. Doesn't matter that I will not see you.
I remember the dad dropping an anchor on his toe.
Yeah, and his toe got amputated, and he was using like little hot dog weenies as like his toe.
But he can't
then
stand up straight anymore because he has no toe.
So they asked
That's
Moody.
an episode of Bedtime Stories.
No, the big finale to Moody's Point was she was going to give her dad a toe transplant, but then they ran the test, and it turns out she wasn't his daughter. It turned out, so she couldn't give him a toe transplant. She was actually the biological daughter of circus trapeze artist.
Oh,
so
yeah,
she had to go.
she gets taken away.
And that was the end. That was the finale.
Wait a minute, are you telling me that there's a Dan Schneider episode involving toes?
Yes!
Doesn't matter that I will not beat you.
Notice how we get to talking about the plot of the Amanda Show much quicker than The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah, well, no.
Well, we have a photographic memory for the Amanda Show.
People need to
Yes.
remember her friend who had a baboon heart transplant and that made her a really good gymnast.
It's a lot of good bits, although I have to say, everything you're describing, all I'm picturing is the Tim and Eric sketch with Michael Cera, Kitty Cat Man.
Yeah.
The whole thing with Tim and Eric is when we were kids, that's just what our shows were like. And then we grow up and we're like, Tim and
That's why
Eric.
it was such a natural transition.
Tim and Eric is just a more childish version of Drake and Josh.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Tim and Eric is just making Dan Schneider palatable.
You know what it's also like?
Tim and Eric is really the Roger Moore of... Segue.
All right.
Segue
back to The Spy Who Loved Me. So Kevin McClory also filed an injunction against Eon Productions because he claimed
Classic.
that
This is so classic.
I
Kevin.
know.
I love this.
So Kevin McClory, our villain of this story, has crept back into the fold and filed an injunction on top of announcing he's making a competing Bond movie. And he's like, hey, you can't, that's my script that you're using with the script of The Spy Who Loved Me. And then they're just like, fuck. So this delays the movie even further. They get the injunction lifted and they're like, finally, we can fucking make this movie.
Incredible. They need to make a My Strange Addiction episode about Kevin McClory and how he's addicted to making lawsuits out of Thunderball.
And Thunderball. He's addicted to making Thunderball.
There's like a tragic movie there about Kevin McClory. How
Didn't he drive his family away?
Pretty much. Well, like his family,
Yeah.
it's so funny in the Everything or Nothing documentary. Like his family's talking about him. He's like, he just wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, if I was his wife and you're trying to have your mashed potatoes or whatever, your Irish dinner for,
What is he sculpting? He's sculpting James Bond out of mashed potatoes.
Yeah, and you're like, shut the fuck up about thunder. He's sculpting Largo.
He's at a candlelit dinner sculpting Largo with his wife, and he's like, honey, I'm giving it up. I won't obsess over this anymore. And then there's like a ring at the door, and he goes to get it, and it's Sean Connery in a car, and he's like, get in, we're ruining Albert Broccoli's life. And then he's like, I can't say no.
I can't quit you.
Duty calls.
I can't quit you.
He just, so Kevin McClory is just a complete and total madman who is hell-bent on owning the world, basically. All intellectual property.
But his efforts do work in that Eon Productions, sadly, gives up on Blofeld for the time being.
Yes.
No Blofeld, no more Spectre. So we get Captain Nemo. They get Chris Wood on the team. He comes up with the new Captain Nemo Blofeld, Stromberg, and basically creates the version of The Spy Who Loved Me we all know and love. But there is one more writer hired to do a secret pass on the screenplay that Albert Broccoli is so embarrassed by, he does not tell anyone who this is until Roger Moore is like reading the script and he's like, Tom Mankiewicz wrote this.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say Mank.
Mank is back.
Mank came back, and here's another thing. Apparently, Guy Hamilton was going to do this initially, but because of the Harry Saltzman shit and how long it was taking, Guy Hamilton's like, see ya. And then the script that he was working on was with Mank. So, and then Mank was like, all right, later. And before they got Christopher Wood to write the script, they had Anthony Burgess of A Clockwork Orange fame do a version.
Are you saying there could be a Kubrick connection to The Spy Who Loved Me?
Well, it's not just Ken Adam. So
we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that. But also
I should have read up on this.
Before they settle on the final story, there was talk of like it being more tied to political controversies of the time, like more like Watergate, hostages and stuff. Like apparently at one point there was going to be a plane that gets taken over and gets blown up. Super fun.
At one point, the Broccolis just considered doing international terrorism.
Yes.
Well, that's what you want in your James Bond movie, is to be reminded of the Iranian hostage crisis.
That hadn't even happened yet, Jan. They were just going to do the Iranian hostage crisis.
Yeah, the scripts were leaning towards that. And at one point, there was one script that featured the President of the United States naked in the Oval Office addressing the nation and confessing to his crimes.
Oh, but it's like the ending of Fateful Findings.
Yeah, basically.
Jimmy Carter just kills himself in front of the nation.
And then James Bond goes, my, that house sir isn't white anymore, isn't it? Ha ha.
Not the new M is the Ayatollah of Iran.
Oh my God. Well, I was going to say that's part of what I think one of the things that makes this movie such a breath of fresh air is it is decidedly not topical.
Yeah.
No, it's actually a beautiful breath of it's international cooperation.
Yeah, and it goes back to just being a James Bond movie and not a James Bond movie that tries to rip off whatever trend was going on at the time.
Except for Jaws.
Well, yes, except for Jaws.
Well, and Jaws. And they did apparently, this was the Bond movie that Steven Spielberg was in talks to direct before they got Louis Gilbert back. He was in talks to direct. Either he was tired after Jaws or the Broccoli's didn't like him, but he didn't get it. And he was so depressed that he was on that beach with George Lucas and he's like, I want to do James Bond. And George Lucas is like, I got something better for you, Steven. I got you.
Howard the Duck.
And a franchise was born.
The idea was Radio Days.
Radio Days. That was stolen by Woody Allen in a freak bit of assholery.
Wait, isn't it Radioland Murders?
Oh, Radio
Yeah, I
Land
was
Murder.
going to
get
say,
them
I don't
confused.
think George Lucas
like,
came up
wait,
with Radio
They
Days.
both Radio Flyer, Radio Days.
Oh, yeah, Radio Flyer
Land Murders.
Wagon.
You're right.
You're still thinking about Jimmy Bond from
Whoops.
Casino Royale.
I get them confused.
It was did you know Seth Green? I was watching Radio Days, and Seth Green is in Radio Days. And you know what else Seth Green did? He plays Howard the Duck. So, Hollywood's
And he was
small
Scott
town.
Evil in Austin Powers.
He is.
Yes, which is a parody of James Bond.
James
And The
Bond.
Spy Who Loved Me is a James
It's
Bond
a James
movie.
Bond movie.
Yeah.
We're 26 minutes in and we haven't really talked about the movie.
Which sucks, because The Spy Who Loved Me is the best.
Yeah, let's get to it.
What
no?
were you going to say, Jake? Because
no,
are you going to
'cause
talk
I was
about
gonna
how
go
Albert
back-
Broccoli hated Egyptian food, so he forced everyone to eat spaghetti that he made himself for like 2 weeks?
Oh, that did happen.
That
where,
happened.
I think everybody was, I don't know, getting sick from the food. And so,
Egyptian food is delicious.
Not to an Italian-American man, it's not.
apparently, like, their food, something happened with their food where, like, they were trying to import something. And then the food went bad, and they're just like, fuck it. And Albert R. Broccoli just was able to find pasta, tomato sauce, and cooked everybody.
It's a
cooked for
John
everybody.
Rhys Davis and Raiders of the Lost Ark situation.
Yeah.
Where John Rhys Davis just shat his pants in the middle of a take.
Basically.
Roger Moore got shingles, and he kept pulling the fire alarm and passing out. This is something I read on TV Tropes.
Wait, really?
that happened. I was
my
reading
God.
on TV Tropes. Like Roger Moore, he got shingles, so he was out of it. So he was stumbling around the hotel, and he pulled the fire alarm, and then everyone went out. And he like quickly ran into his room to pretend to be asleep. And then some other asshole pulled the fire alarm. And everyone was like, Roger, was that you? And then he gets out of bed and he's like, no, I've been asleep the entire time. Apparently Roger Moore was a mischievous little schoolboy on this movie by all accounts.
A weird story. Anyways, The Spy Who Loved Me.
The Spy Who
Spy Who
Loved
Loved
Me.
Me!
But I was going to go back to Paul's thing. Yes,
Okay.
Broccoli did not want to do anything that was topical, like have the villain be based on some current event thing. He was just like, nope, it's just got to be a James Bond thing. It's got to be purely just made up bullshit. We're not doing that. We're going to make it giant, fun, and good.
Hell yeah.
And that's what they did. Oh,
Yeah!
fuck.
Whoa, Jake.
Hell yeah.
Oh my
Jay
god, that
got
was great.
so excited that he punched his laptop into
and
a
it like shifted like 3 feet.
Whoops.
That's amazing. I love that.
So, so now we're at The Spy Who Loved Me. It's only been almost a half hour, so.
Yeah, but now we're on to
we're
the
doing
greatest.
better than in previous episodes.
Yes.
Because this one's great. From the opening tease that I would argue is the greatest opening tease in James Bond history.
Oh,
I think it's
fucking
one of the
awesome.
best. It's one of the best
so
for
far
sure.
it's the best one for sure, yeah.
Arguably, I would argue that part of why it's so good is by itself, it's basically an excellent short James Bond movie.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels like one of those bite-sized, like,
Yeah.
shorts Ian Fleming. I don't fucking know. It's just cool.
Ironically, Bond doesn't show up until halfway through the opening sequence.
Yes.
It's
Well, in
fine.
previous, at least in Live and Let Die, I don't know.
He doesn't
He's
show
not
up at
in
all.
Live and Let Die.
Yeah, or Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is improvement for him.
Yeah.
I mean, well, he is kind of in Man with the Golden Gun, but he's a wax statue.
Yeah, he's a
Well,
wax
that's
statue.
Yeah, he pulled a trick on that one. But I was impressed right off the bat. I mean, I don't know if it's not as good as the skiing in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but it's pretty damn good, and you're getting
It's
it
so
in.
awesome.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
Like they set it up like I forget, do we see the submarines get stolen in the opening? I don't take notes during these.
There's a submarine. I wrote down there is a bit with a submarine.
So first you get the submarines, and then we meet Gogol. He's back from Russia with love. Gogol is in the house. This guy's so freaking cool. He's so freaking chill. And like we get to see him being like, where's my best Russian agent? And then you see not George Lazenby in bed with Barbara Bach, and they're talking about how much they love each other. And then they get the call, and boom, Barbara Bach's Anya. Anya is Agent XXX.
This is Triple X.
She's ready for the next assignment, and her boyfriend's ready for the next assignment, and they're having like a human moment. And then we go meet M and Moneypenny, and then Bond is having. What does M say about Bond? Like he needs
he
to.
says something like
he needs to pull out.
He
needs to pull out.
Well, tell him to pull out.
Yeah.
Smash cut to Bond.
We see a close-up of Roger Moore's dick in full penetration, pulling out and coming.
Oh, James.
It's incredible.
Incredible.
So-
And then he goes, early snowfall this year. But then
Time
he
to
leaves.
hit the slopes.
Time to hit the slopes. So he leaves, and the girl, she's working for the Russians. We're back to old Cold War, baby. And not George Lazenby from the previous scene. He's with a bunch of Russians. And they're all skiing after
He's
him,
a
Bond.
bad spy.
Yes.
Every woman that he gets in bed with turns out to be a Russian KGB agent.
But he's not dead yet. And that's the success metric.
Also, we talked about Gogol, but I just think the set of like the Kremlin is so fucking cool.
Oh yeah, this one has the best sets.
Where it's just like this empty space.
There's
amazing.
like
It's like a bunker.
yeah, like communists don't have things, right? It's just like a completely empty like bunker with just a little desk in the middle.
We get the giant picture of Lenin, though, right?
Yes.
We still get that
A
giant picture.
medium-sized picture of Lenin.
Just in case you weren't sure.
A printed out by Sears picture of
Life size. That's his real.
Is it, you know, when I first watched this movie, that when they're just like, get me Agent Triple X, and I thought that the next scene would be like Vin Diesel going like, the things I do for my country.
Things I'm gonna do for my country.
I legitimately thought, I'm like, wait,
Another
Vin
classic
Diesel?
film inspired by
Inspired.
James Bond.
Yes.
Jake turns to his dad. Dad, is James Bond gonna love Vin Diesel?
Now I want to see Roger Moore in a flat billed hat that says world domination.
We forgot to mention that when we cut to not George Lazenby and Barbara Bach for the first time, they try to do a switcheroo where it's just like, this man is obviously Triple X, but then the camera pans in and she goes like, this is Agent Triple X,
This is Triple X.
and you're like,
I wanted to see how that would play with Melissa because she'd never seen this, and the only reaction she got was when not George Lazenby turns around, she just goes like, "Who's that guy?" That was about it. I don't think it had the punch.
Well, not today,
He
but
was
back in the
hoping for.
70s, like Jimmy Carter would be like throwing up. Frank Sinatra would be hooting and hollering. Florence
It was a simpler
Henderson would be
time.
fist bumping. You know, the 70s.
Hell yeah.
oh yeah.
Classic.
And then the freaking ski chase, they're like jumping, they're diving. They fire James
Bond's
Bond.
pole turns into a fucking gun.
gun.
James Bond's ski pole is a freaking gun, and he shoots someone, and there's a huge hole.
And he
It's
shoots not
so
George Lazenby,
cool.
and we hold on a shot of him, and you're just like, oh no.
Every death in this movie has so much weight to it. Like, this movie is like, oh crap, somebody has died.
You really feel the license to kill in this, but yeah.
But we're not talking about that right now because James Bond skis off the fucking edge of a cliff.
Oh my God.
The music cuts out. Silence. All you hear is the wind, and he gets off to the
He
skis.
dies.
He tragically crashes.
He tragically crashes.
The movie ends, and it's the greatest James Bond movie ever.
And then Vin Diesel takes over.
And then the movie cuts to black. James Bond won't return.
James Bond will not be in Moonraker. We'll get another guy.
Please leave. Yes, that's what it says.
And that was our episode of The Spy Who Loved Me. Goodbye, folks.
Goodbye.
There we go. Goodbye.
So,
Anyway.
so yeah,
Not really.
he skis off, and then the frickin' British flag parachute comes
The
out.
Union
and
Jack
he's
comes
gone.
out of-
Union Jack,
Union
you
Jack.
heathen. And this is when Kevin McClory really started losing it and started throwing potatoes at the screen.
Meanwhile,
This is my idea. I dreamed of this once.
Meanwhile, King Charles III this actually happened apparently at the premiere. Then Prince Charles, but Maybe now King
Troy, what are you
Charles.
talking about? He's still the prince.
Yeah, he's still the
Oh,
prince.
you guys don't know the queen's dead? Oh shit! I
Wait,
wasn't
what?
supposed to
Wait.
say. Oh crap! But Prince Charles stood up and he's cheering, he's hooting and he's hollering and he's shaking Camilla and he's like having a grand old time and he's freaking out because James Bond is finally a British hero.
Finally.
He waved the freaking flag.
Do you know the origin of this stunt?
This is a George Lazenby pitch, isn't it?
No, actually.
Yeah, he pitched this for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And they didn't get around to it because they ran out of money.
That's not what I heard.
Well, George Lazenby told me this personally. Would George Lazenby lie to
He
me?
lives in your house.
George Lazenby lives on my couch right now. He's nodding. He's trying to tell me he was in The Spy Who Loved Me, but they had to kill him off because he was too sexy. And I'm like, shut up, George.
And then
my
he started
God.
to say some very homophobic, uncomfortable things.
Yeah, you know, George is downing that can of tuna pretty quickly. Is he okay?
Yeah, I have to buy a lot of cans of tuna for George. He'll only eat like raw tuna. He's kind of like a circus geek now. He only eats tuna and live chicken. I have to
You
charge
pay
him
him to eat raw tuna in front of you.
in a pit for pennies. And I'm like,
George the
no,
geek.
George. He better not die before this episode comes out. Otherwise, that'll be in poor taste.
So what's the story with this?
So, Michael G. Wilson was reading Playboy, obviously, just casually reading it.
For the articles.
For the articles, of course. But he found an ad, and it was this guy doing the same stunt, like in stills, like jumping off and doing the parachute thing. And so they went over to California. The man's name was something Sylvester.
Rick Sylvester.
And they're like, Rick Sylvester, come with us. Can you do that stunt for the new James Bond movie? And he's like, well, this is awkward. It's fake. And they're just like, wait, what? Yeah, no, none of it's real. But I could do it. You could do it? Yes. Have you done it before? No. But I could do it if we go to this random mountain within a 6-week window where the powder is just right and it's not too snowy. I could do this theoretically. And then they thought about it. They're just like, are we just going to like pay this man to like basically kill himself? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, I miss the 70s. Movies were so cool back then.
I
Movies
know.
were
You
good
could
in the
just find like
70s.
some guy. He's just like, hey, can you light yourself on fire and jump out of a plane?
George Lazenby.
George Lazenby. And then it's just like, yeah, I think I could do it. Yeah, sure. And so the guy did it. And they're just like, okay.
Didn't he hit himself with a ski on like one of his skis like hit his leg on the way down or something?
I don't know about that.
I
but-
mean,
Alright.
that
I
sounds
should
like a
take note.
win for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like
Like,
if you just
some-
get like hit in the knee with like a ski, I'm like, I just got skiing for the first time this year, and I'm like, getting the skis on is hard enough. Getting them off in midair is absolutely insane.
Did you have a gun in your ski pole?
Always.
I did.
Jake always has a gun.
I
Okay,
tried using it on myself. It didn't work.
Oh man, imagine being Rick Sylvester and like saying goodbye to your family, thinking you're going to die doing this badass stunt, and then like he hits the ground in a giant Union Jack, and he's just like, I have to see my wife again. I have to give my dad a oh God, I have to go on living. Oh no.
No, he's full. He went in knowing that he's just gonna die, and then he decided not to midway through.
This was a suicide operation.
Oh no, I have to pay my taxes.
It was in the script that James Bond would fall to his death, and the guy got scared and opened his Union Jack parachute, and they were
They
like,
just
"Fuck."
had on him.
Yeah,
He
we
just
need
thought
to-
about like, no, hitting the bottom. I don't know. Will that hurt? Nah.
So they were like, "Fuck, we need to write a rest of the movie for this now."
All right.
And they called Mank.
My original plan, Ian Fleming didn't license them a story, so kill everyone. Die
Well,
now.
Then some hands show up, and we get
Ooh.
my favorite theme song.
Nobody does it better.
It's a great song.
It's a banger.
Nobody does it
Does it
better.
better.
It's my
Oh.
favorite one so far. I fucking love. It's one of those songs that I can't listen to without just singing along to it. I love Carly Simon. She's such a queen.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't love Carly Simon? I guess that vein.
And,
Only if
and
you're a
I
vain
know.
person.
also,
Imagine if that was the theme song. You're,
You're
so vain.
You probably think this assassination attempt was about you. You're so vain.
I had some dreams. There were clowns in my coffee.
You shot Goldfinger. He didn't shoot Goldfinger. He kicked him out of an airplane.
No, he
But
didn't kick him. He got sucked out.
Also, the Morris Bender visuals are pretty amazing in this, in my
Yes.
opinion.
Very naked. This is a very naked movie.
A lot of booby.
I was gonna say the visual concept here is like to me it's a better version of the On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yes,
There's
I would agree
still
with that.
It's less busy. There's still some
Mhm.
freeze frames that I think look awkward, but whatever.
The keying sucks. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about watching these movies on
In
Blu-ray.
4K, yeah.
They were supposed to be PG, but with the majesty of bad keying, they become more. Much more.
Anyway, but it's cool.
Yeah, I don't honestly, I don't really know what makes the intro so cool. It's just like, I don't know, it's well timed, it's well choreographed, it's
There's a
bit...
part where Roger Moore takes out a whole line of Russian women who are marching in lockstep.
yeah, that's
fun.
That's fun. I
And I
like
like that Roger's like integrated into it. Like I like that now James Bond is becoming more a part of the openings because it adds to the mythic nature. My whole thing with The Spy Who Loved Me is it really embraces the myth of James Bond, and I think that's really what makes it stand out. Wait, okay, one more note about the song. Carly Simon sings it, but this song and the score was written by Marvin Hamlish, who wrote The Way We Were, who did the score to The Sting.
Yes.
He won 3 Oscars in one night.
And the lyrics
And-
were Carol Bayer Sager.
Yes, and Marvin Hamlish also did a chorus line. But why Marvin Hamlish is important to me is I was one of the last people to see him alive. I was at
Wait,
an
how?
Idina
Wait.
Did you kill him?
So
I'm just imagining the beginning of Casino Royale.
How did he die? Your contact? Not well.
before he died in 2012, he was an accompanist on Idina Menzel's tour, and my family went to go see Idina Menzel perform, and he was doing the music, and he did a medley of Marvin Hamlish songs as the opener, including I think Nobody Does It Better made it in. And it's such
He
this
has
little
to.
Orville Reichenbacher man conducting, and I'm looking at this little Orville
Aw.
Reichenbacher man. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna live forever. 1 month later, he died. So
You killed him.
So yeah, he locked himself off for a month. He didn't see anyone else except you.
he just looked back and he saw this little boy, and he's like, I'm tired of living. That Green Bay Packer hat is so garish. I can't handle it.
Go away. It's all over now. And Carol Bayer Sager, the one thing that she's written a bunch of songs, but the one thing I know her is the soundtrack to Quest for Camelot.
Warner Brothers Family Entertainment presents Quest for Camelot, featuring songs by Academy Award winner Carol Bayer Sager.
Like
she-
every tree.
She wrote the
Turns on
prayer.
its
Yeah, did she
own.
write the prayer?
Yeah, she wrote the prayer.
Oh my God. You know, I still haven't seen Quest for Camelot.
That's one of those movies that I watched like every day as a kid, and I can't remember like a single thing about it.
Isn't Pierce Brosnan King Arthur in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Whoa.
Pierce
So there's
Brosnan
our-
I'm
is.
surprised you haven't seen that, Troy. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
haven't.
I played the computer game a lot where you could like make pictures and tell stories. And I would use it to take the Pierce Brosnan King Arthur and I would make him Jesus. and it would be like the Passion of the Christ, and he would be in the middle, and then like when the guards were like whipping him, you remember that little guard with the axe for a nose? He's like a bird.
You mean
with,
the
like, a little
Urkel
axe.
chicken?
Yeah, I would make the little evil
Yeah.
chicken, like the Roman guards, and they'd be like wailing at him, and like the guy with red hair would be like
You made
this a
King
bit?
Arthur Jesus, and you made him be whipped with the Urkel chicken axe.
It's the Uncle Chicken axe.
Oh
yeah.
my fucking what? Why would you do this?
Would you just take any action figure of a bearded man and you're like, it's
Yeah.
Jesus?
And what was the Eric Idle dragon Pontius Pilate?
No, those were the Pharisees. That was Caiaphas. No, I grew up in a very Catholic household, which is why I didn't watch the James Bond movies, because he had premarital sex.
I grew up Catholic, and I watched this when I was 5.
Jake, you didn't commit as much as I did, clearly.
Clearly.
Here we are.
Catholic off.
Anyway, so we get the banger opening sequence with Nobody Does It Better, and we cut back and we're in good old Soviet Russia, where Agent XXX reports for duty and Gogol has some bad news. Her lover has been tragically shot by a trick gun inside of a ski pole.
Just your normal sort of bad news tragedy.
Yeah.
It plays it straight. And that's what I love about this movie, is the whole emotional core of this movie is James Bond has shot someone with a ski. And it is horribly heartbreaking.
It has a profound impact on the plot until it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I don't mind.
there's one
No, I
scene.
think they play it fairly straight, like, for what? What were you going to say, Jan?
There's just one scene where she's like, "You killed my boyfriend," and he's like,
I'm gonna kill
there's
you.
a-
"Sorry, not sorry," and
There's
that's
a
it.
whole emotional build to it. So
No, there's
we
not,
don't
Troy.
see James
You
Bond.
know what?
Shush.
I'm on Troy's side here.
We see James Bond not for a bit, okay? Anya is the first person we see after the opening, and she is mourning the death of her boyfriend. And so we're following her for a bit. Eventually, we get to Bond. To this film's credit, we meet Anya, we meet James, and we meet Stromberg, all in the 15 minutes. I paused the movie when Stromberg popped up. We're introduced to all of our main characters in the first 15 minutes. But we're following Anya through the movie. She's struggling with heartbreak. James is struggling with heartbreak because as we'll get to, this is the first movie
one
that
mention of
acknowledges
Tracy.
Tracy.
One
Which in
mention.
James Bond, that's everything, Jan. That's
And
the
Roger
James
Moore
Bond
plays that
character.
scene well.
Yeah.
I am sick and tired, Troy, of you saying that these movies are about something. This movie's
one is
about a
actually about
weird
something.
flipper man who's obsessed with water and wants to turn the world into the ocean. That's
James
what this
Cameron.
movie's about.
But that's
Yes.
but the villain is not important in this movie. This movie is about James and Anya helping each other. They are in the same field. They're the only two people who understand each other until tragically they realize that one of them has murdered the lover of the other. And all the way up to that last scene, we're trying to fight with, is it possible to be a human? Is it possible to be a spy who loves? Throughout the whole movie. This movie has an arc.
It's about them banging and then they fight a weird giant with weird teeth.
No, we don't see them bang until after they fight the giant. The whole movie is delayed gratification, but we'll get to it. But
All
yes,
right.
the seeds of the arc are planted. Barbara Bach does a phenomenal job in this movie. Like watching it again, I'm like, oh yeah, she's actually really good. She's not great, but she's really good.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal compared. Do we want to go back to Mary Goodnight, Jan? Are we going back to Mary Goodnight in
Oh,
solitaire?
she's fun. Come on. She's running around in that bikini. It's a goofy time.
We got to talk about Barbara Bach for a second because she is Mrs. Ringo Starr.
Mrs. Ringo Starr. I think she's quite good in this. She does the accent. She holds her own. However,
I unfortunately, Troy, it's just like her character is written well enough for the story.
She's pretty bland.
She is inexperienced to say the least. It's
Well,
hard
yeah.
enough to like, okay, this is like a Bond girl where it's like, you know, you got to play like tragedy and then you also got to be like this. And she's also trying to do like a weird accent and she's just kind of throughout. Like she does it well enough. She acts it well enough, but
It's
it
pretty
could have been
stoic
better.
most of the movie.
Yeah.
Especially those pivotal scenes.
Yeah, like when you have like she's very just like, oh yeah, my lover died. And I
think
mean,
you
Roger
guys
Moore
are
is like
underselling it.
bringing everything into it. Like when he's trying to defend himself, going like, well, sometimes you just gotta kill somebody for king and country.
I mean, I guess we're skipping a little bit, but I think their courtship, the charm segment is pretty effective. But when the dramatic states come back, it's kind of like, and then they forget about it.
Those dramatic stakes are like some of the best scenes in like the whole franchise, where characters have emotions and
I
they
think they're
interact
good
with
scenes.
each other.
They're good scenes, but
they are there. Yeah, if you take those scenes out of the movie's still really great in my opinion. They don't change anything.
But no, they're the whole emotional core. The whole back and forth. The whole back and forth in the truck, the whole back and forth in the car, her realizing just from like, oh, how does she realize? I forget. It's a very subtle thing, but she realizes on the Swiss thing.
Because he mentions that he picked up this thing in, where the hell was he in the beginning?
In the Alps.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I got that in the Alps.
Her face falls. Has anyone's face ever fallen in a James Bond movie before? No. There's
Kananga.
no human emotions. Wait, who?
Mr. Big.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, no, his
One
face
thing
went up.
that he does is frown.
When he eats that air ball.
His face expanded.
And then Barbara Bach inflates and explodes.
It rose up, not down.
There is a scene where he literally takes his face off.
Anyway, I will say this. I do kind of want to talk about these moments in the context of the plot instead of all jumbled together. But I will say this. While I did appreciate Barbara Bach even more this time, she was the second choice. And if they went with their first choice, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Catherine Deneuve was so close to playing this character, and she really wanted to, but Albert Broccoli wouldn't pay her salary. And as much as I love this movie, I'm so freaking pissed that he didn't just pay her freaking salary, because Catherine Deneuve, one of our greatest actors of all time, most beautiful woman of photographed history, most beautiful celebrity woman of photographed history, would have knocked it out of the frickin' park, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Excuse me, the most beautiful woman in photographed history is Telly Savalas On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Well, if you put it like that.
I do put it like that.
Jan, that's a negative. You're promoting unrealistic body
beauty standards.
Yeah, no woman could hope
that
to
this
be
is the
that
ideal
Greek.
male body. You may not like it, but it's Telly Savalas.
Wait, Telly Savalas is both the most beautiful man and the most beautiful woman.
No, we
He's
know this isn't true. It's actually Bernard Lee.
Good God.
Wait, yes. This is the last movie, right?
No, he has one more.
he
He
has
looks
one more.
even dicier in
Because
Moonraker.
he's got 1 foot in the grave in this.
Yeah,
movie.
he's on his way out in this movie.
Well, no, I was going to say that this movie's got the budget. I mean, the headline is they're trying again, folks.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
that's the selling
this movie
point.
has so much of a budget. I'm like, he looks actually fine in this. He doesn't look embalmed like in the last 4 movies.
I thought he looked pretty shit.
They have the money to make Bernard Lee looking good, but not to pay Catherine Deneuve's salary. Come on now, Albert.
He looked like he had energy to him, but his hair is wider. So yes, he both looks more high energy and like he's got a foot in the grave. That sums up Bernard Lee in this movie. Poor Lois Maxwell has 1 line of dialogue and is otherwise just filing.
It is really funny to see her at her desk in
Egypt.
Like they're in
when
the
you go to the
Egyptian,
Egyptian
the themed MI6 base is in an Egyptian tomb.
Yes. This movie really kills it. Part of why I love this movie so much, the MI6 person who actually gets the most attention in this, Q is back, baby.
Oh yeah,
they're not ashamed of him anymore. He's freaking everywhere.
I think Melissa. I mean, she fucking hated it, but she was a little more receptive to this one because she loves Q, and I love Q, and Q is in a lot of this movie.
The deeper we get into this franchise, it just becomes more and more hilarious that the thing that the makers of these films are ashamed of is the gadgets.
It's the thing that they pioneered.
Yes.
Literally the least harmful and toxic thing about these movies is the thing they're ashamed of.
Yes. Because the gadgets make James Bond less manly.
This one goes back to the gadgets, though. It's got the
Yes.
coolest
Yeah.
fucking car in all these movies.
No, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, we're hopping around, but I love Q. If we're willing to talk about the Egyptian
Wait,
part, then we
I
should
feel
probably...
like we can hop around. Like, fuck it.
Okay, all right. So Q is making a tea set just to decapitate a dude.
Yeah, no, if the table is really, really high, the table needs to be really, really high in order for it to work. And then after they demonstrate it, he goes like, prepare that for Ahmed's tea party.
I want that ready for Ahmed's tea party.
Okay, he said Ahmed. I heard Hagrid. I heard Hagrid's tea party, and I'm like, he's gonna kill Hagrid?
And then he has a contraption where he has a dummy that he sends into the air, and the dummy like falls on his fucking face, and the dummy is dressed like an Arabian sheik.
Yes. Q's having fun in the Egyptian base.
And I'm like thinking, oh, and they devote time to this moment because it's in slow-mo when it gets shot up in the air, and you're just like, what is this gonna do? Like, it's just, this is just a prank. This isn't like a device to kill somebody.
I think he was just really racist.
I mean, he does
probably.
work for the British government. No offense. Screw it.
Yeah.
Really,
we have no sympathy for those.
We gotta piss off your British brethren, Troy.
King Charles is listening to this podcast, clapping, and now he's stopping and he's turning it
I
off
already
and he's trying
see
to
someone
come
in the comments like, "Oi, I'm from Bristol, right? And I thought this podcast was pretty bloody funny, but now I'm subscribing, you bloody jerks."
You bloody jerk, you're reviewing The Spy Who Loved Me, the greatest, most patriotic British movie of all time. And you're up there, you blokes.
I was eating me
shitting
fish
on
and
our
chips
government?
in peace, and then these bloody blokes come along making fun of my
You're just
country.
turning into Taika Waititi now, James.
Ray Winstone, is that you?
Ray Winstone. Oi, you idiots with your president, we have a constitutional monarchy. Our head of state doesn't do anything important. Oi.
Anyway, back to the plot.
This is why I love this movie. This movie goes back to just a villain having a ridiculous plan. You know,
What's funny is the plan is just Dr. Strangelove and failsafe. It's a normal, typical, wealthy guy who's like, blow up New York and Moscow and the world. I have condos underwater.
Yeah. He just wants to live underwater. Well, they make a point of it because at least Spectre, they wanted money. They're trying to extort the nations. They have extortion in their name. This guy is just like, I love the ocean. I want to be the ocean.
Yeah.
it's so simple, and it's why I love this villain. Is I feel like this is one of the first movies that, like, you know, there's this myth that rich entrepreneurs are really smart, brilliant people, and this is one of the first movies that goes, no, these people are weirdo morons who just, like, you know,
They're stupid.
We
hate them.
You know, they say that capitalism will breed innovation, and it's always these fucking dudes going like, what if we made Iron Man or this shit like that? And this movie is this guy is that.
We know which government Jan is on.
Okay, and that's the other reason why I fucking love this movie. He teams up with the KGB. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, James Bond does international coalition. I love at the end, Stromberg like explains his plan to Bond like, I'm gonna nuke New York and Moscow with these stolen submarines. And he's like, and how much money do you want to not do it? And Stromberg's like, no, I'm just gonna do it. And James Bond's
just
like,
busts
what?
out the checkbook, and he's like, no.
He's just completely evil. He has disgusting flipper hands.
And you gotta love the setup where, you know, where he's in his dining room.
Yeah.
And
the dining
then
room
he's
is so
like,
cool.
check out my sharks.
I love the dining
And
room.
it's like, oh my God, this is like the 5th time a guy's got sharks. Twist, his shark tank is the entire ocean.
Yeah.
He's the ocean master.
Yeah.
He is the ocean master.
And he plays classical music like he's the most villain ever.
I love it. So this guy, Stromberg, like when you first see him, he's like, he has these two 70s looking dudes with a girl there, Caroline Munro's his assistant Naomi.
The Petra von Kant.
Yes. Wait, what?
I don't know. She looks like something out of a Fassbinder movie.
Caroline Munro's great. She was a Hammer horror star. She was the wife of the abominable Dr. Phibes.
Oh.
And she's in Seven Voyage of Sinbad, one of the Sinbad movies. Caroline Munro's great. She's Caroline Munro. Anyway, but so basically he's like, you two failed me. You guys tried to leak my plot to the Russians or something to steal the two nukes from England.
The technique of heat-seeking submarines, like
yes.
A way to track submarines. They're like, the only way they could have done this is if the same way we could track missiles as they're flying through the air, we could track submarines. Someone's figured out how to do that. Cut to this, and we find these two very nice, happy-looking, like normal-looking guys going like, "Yeah, we just we're contributing to an act of terrorism."
Or the deal, baby.
No, and then Stromberg, but he fakes them out because he thinks they've stolen from him, and then he tells his assistant to go in the other room, and then he presses a button, and she falls into a shark tank, and he's like, that was you, I got you, and he's like, all right, how much do I owe you to? And like, he's giving them the money, and he's gonna funnel it to their Swiss bank accounts, and then they go in a helicopter, and they go, well, that was nice.
No, and then they shake each other's hand like, we did it, we survived. And then right on cue, he's looking out the window and flips a switch and blows them up and calls like his assistant going like,
Inform next of kin that a tragic accident has resulted in the deaths of Professor Markowitz and Dr. Beckman. The funeral was at sea.
And then he cancels the money.
Yeah.
He's like, also canceled the funds. And I'm like, this guy's got style. Like if he was Blofeld, he would be my top Blofeld.
He pretty much is Blofeld, but he's...
Yeah, he pretty much is.
He's Aqua Blofeld, which makes him all the more cooler because, as we all know, water is fucking awesome.
Captain Nemo, boys!
Though I do kind of find Stromberg to be a little boring.
Oh my god! What does the guy
to...
have to do? How many people does he have to feed the sharks with his flipper hands before
he's not as... When you want the Bond villain, you got to make him a little bit more flamboyant or give him an eye patch or I don't know. Like he's a little just there. He kind of reminds me of the bad guy from Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, where he's just like, I mean, he's bad and he's there.
Like barely in it, and when he is, it's a little bit like.
I mean, I really, just like Barbara Bach, I like the character, but like the performance does leave me wanting.
Yeah. But he looks like Joe Biden. Why does he look like Joe Biden?
And as we were mentioning, he looks like Joe Biden before he got replaced by clone Joe Biden.
Yes, clone Joe Biden, who is older than normal Joe Biden, just like how Roger Moore replaced Sean Connery.
You Google Joe Biden and you look at Stromberg, they don't look alike. And that's the thing.
That's why Joe Biden died in 2010 and he's been replaced by a sleeper cell. Okay, let's get back to the
No. The real Joe Biden faked his death and he lives underwater in Atlantis with a variety of condos for us to all live in after the inevitable nuclear apocalypse.
I can't believe you subscribe to that theory. Read a book, you moron. Joe Biden died in 2010.
No, there was a second Joe Biden. Why is he going grocery shopping in Cape Canaveral?
A second Joe Biden has appeared.
There's angry Joe Biden, and then there's senile Joe Biden. Angry Joe Biden is living in the bottom of the sea.
The real Joe Biden is sitting at the bottom of the sea, watching The Spy Who Loved Me, getting emotionally swept away by his beautiful vistas, and its emotionally compelling story. This is the political episode.
You just said it. Yeah, this is our most political episode.
Albert R. Broccoli is rolling in his grave right now.
Well, let's get it out of the way. We implied it, but we should just say it. We hate people from Bristol.
let's just get it out of the way. Bristol's fish and chips ain't shit. I ate a fish and it was still flipping around.
Amazing. You dunked a fish into like beer batter. Wow. That's such a great contribution.
Go build a boat. Oh, that's right. All the boat building jobs are gone, bro. You're out of work. Go to hell.
So much vitriol. Was it worth it? Was it really worth it to tank our Spy Who Loved Me discussion by angering the people of Bristol?
We've been looking at this podcast and we've been seeing the viewership, the listenership numbers from Bristol grow every week, knowing that that's not cool, man. We don't want you listening to us.
I will have you know that this is xenophobia, this is racism, and I do not subscribe to this channel anymore.
I'll have you know, I built a boat. My father built a boat. We're building boats like crazy over here in Bristol. I don't know where you get your fucking information, mate.
You fucking Manchester United supporters.
You fucking think you can beat us in a game of football? I'd like to see you kick. I'd like to see you kick, bro.
So anyway, let's get
Bond.
So James Bond goes out in the desert
time.
and meets with his good friend, who from Cambridge, who
the first of our many Lawrence of Arabia references.
Yes,
in the film.
And the needle drop.
Well, the needle drop happens later.
Yeah, this is just him in the outfit.
Yeah,
on a camel, having fun.
Why the fuck did they put the Lawrence of Arabia theme when he's just walking and not when he's dressed like Lawrence of Arabia?
So there's a story about that. John Glenn. So yes, listeners, later in the film, James Bond and Anya. Shit, I forgot her name.
Oh my God.
Destroying my whole
And you're a fan of her.
James Bond. She's my favorite.
You call
Bond
yourself
girl.
a fan.
James Bond and Anya.
What? What did you just say? What? Wait, what? This is your favorite Bond girl?
She's my favorite Bond girl, and you can eat my shorts, you Bristol bashing son of a bitch. That's right, me and the whole population of Bristol. We're Bristol Barbara Bachers, okay? We're the BBBs, and we're all about Barbara Bach's
and that's why it's the worst city on earth.
We love you. Go there. They don't fly the Union Jack.
I will not stand by as I watch this podcast turn into a hate group.
This is a love group. We love the Spy Who Loved Me, man. You guys have brought your hate. You guys have brought your prejudice against strong
Anti-Defamation League
female
is going to flag us for being anti-Bristol.
Anyway, so they were recording John Glenn was like editing the scene where James Bond and Anya are wandering through the desert, and he's like, wouldn't it be funny if we just like dropped the Lawrence of Arabia score into this? And they did it, and they just kept laughing every time they saw it, so they never took it out. It's hilarious to me. It reminds me of Spaceballs. You know that scene in Spaceballs where they
do the same
joke
joke
in the desert? Yeah, it was great in Spaceballs.
But it's not a joke. It's just like desert.
It's
Lawrence
a joke
of
if you
Arabia.
haven't eaten for a bit, Jan, and you're like, ha!
It's a classic editor's joke. It's a joke
Yeah,
that
it's
only
an
makes
editor's
sense
joke.
when you've been sleep deprived for like 30 hours.
And if there's anything this podcast does not stand for, it's cheap editor's jokes based on needle drops and random references.
Thank you, Miss Moneypenny. That's all.
Anyway, so
James Bond's dressed like a sheik.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he goes to meet his friend from college, who James Bond is friends with everyone in the Middle East from college, as we later learn in The Living Daylights. And then he's like, I'm here to find out what happened to this MacGuffin. And then his friend's like, you should have sex with my lady friend. And he's like, well, a British man should enjoy all of Egypt's treasures, shouldn't he?
When one is in Egypt, one should delve deeply into its treasures.
And then he steals a bunch of stuff for the British Museum.
Right.
At the beginning of the scene, why is his friend acting like he doesn't know who James Bond is?
That's what makes James Bond so good, is everyone's met him, but no one remembers him.
But then he just goes up to him and he's like, James.
It's like they're doing a bit.
Yeah, but for us.
They used to do this a lot in Cambridge.
Yeah, it was just a thing they did.
They used to dress up in chic clothes and pretend they don't know each other.
Yeah.
That's a weird bit.
So he fights a guy.
No, we're not skipping past a human shield. James Bond uses a woman as a human shield.
No,
I thought
she doesn't use it. He doesn't use her as a human shield. I honestly swear to God think it's like
Troy. There's no proof of the British government using human shields.
Wait, what?
So Bond is getting with the lady. He's trying to look for a man named Feckish.
You must first make contact with a man called Feckish.
Mr. Feckish is expecting me. Where is Feckish?
Where's Feckish? Where's Feckish?
Feckish.
Feckish. Feckish.
Aziz Feckish.
Yeah.
And
he's feeling a little peckish.
That joke was a wreckish.
All right, continue.
Penis.
Come on, we need to talk about James Bond.
Anyway, so the lady tries to seduce him while there is one of Stromberg's henchmen, not Jaws, but this little short guy that kind of looks like Don Rickles.
Yeah.
Who actually is based off someone from the book.
Melissa said that it looked like Dean Norris.
So Dean Norris / Don Rickles is hiding in the up on the second story, and Bond's about to get it on with this lady. And I honestly thought that Bond was seducing her so well that she was like, "No, no."
That's what I've always thought. Is that not what's happening?
I thought that's what's happening.
It's a gray area. There's multiple people who have interpreted it different ways. I always see it. I think that is what's happening. When I first saw it, I thought she knew there was a gun and she was in the path of fire. So she was like trying to pull away from him.
But see, like a scene like this should not be up for interpretation.
No, on counterpoint, it's great it's up for interpretation because it just shows the hardness of Bond's world.
Oh my God, Troy.
And it shows the magical powers of Bond's libido.
This is such a fucking stretch, Troy. Like,
and then Bond chases the guy. Bond chases the guy to the rooftop, and he's like, "Where's Feckish?
Feckish.
Where is he?" And he's holding him by the tie. And he's like, "Pyramids!" And Bond's like, "Great." And he hits the tie, and the man goes splat. And he's like, "That man was helpful."
What a helpful chap.
And this scene's very important because this movie is about interrogating the myth of James Bond. So in
That's
one
what you said
scene,
about the last movie.
No, but this fulfills the promise of the man with the golden gun. The man with the golden gun was like stumbling into it. This movie does it with confidence. James Bond, in one sequence, he's established this is a man who has sex with harem women. This is a man who uses women as human shields. He's awful.
Or is so sexy that he's able to convert people.
This is a man who will kill a man with men's fashion because he's just that refined and he won't blink. He'll kill a man in cold blood with a tie. This is a man who is broken. And is there anyone in the world who can understand what this man is going through? Well, we're about to find out.
That is the most impassioned speech for something that is completely in your mind.
All movies are in our mind, Jan. Come with me. Dance with me in the dance of life.
Experience in your mind. But I guess maybe this is a good point to note that Roger Moore is written pretty differently in this movie from the last couple.
Yeah. He comes into his zone in this one.
He's written as the Roger Moore James Bond.
And I think they make him a little softer, a little funnier, but you still have the like this very distinct moments where it's like the license to kill is on display.
Well, that never goes away. I mean, that's their...
Yeah, I think...
I forget if it's there in View to a Kill, even.
Especially in this movie, like, we've talked about how, we love our trash, silly goose Bond movies, but the best ones are the ones that do kind of find a balance. Yeah. And this one strikes a really cool balance. Like, the next scene with Jaws in the pyramids, I think is like genuinely creepy and tense.
Oh, I love that scene.
Where the pyramid light show is going on.
It's such a good idea.
Lights and the music.
Yeah, and I also, this scene really makes me think of, like, first of all, thank God we're out of Guy Hamilton land and we're back in the widescreen. And it looks fucking great.
Guy Hamilton's reign of terror is ended.
Louis Gilbert, like you guys were saying, previous Bond films were shot like TV movies, but this movie is so cinematic.
Yes.
The dollies, the
this
zooms.
movie looks great.
I was going to say this earlier, but this movie, it's kind of like the Skyfall of its era. where,
Yes.
you know,
Well-
but they're like, okay, we need to do something big. It needs to look gorgeous. It needs to have the locations and the sets and do everything. We need to bring Bond back to this level. That's basically what Spy Who Loved Me is like. Okay, we're going to go fucking big and reintroduce why people love this series and make it as stupid and fun and ridiculous as possible with a lot of money.
But also, yeah, like there's a distinct attempt to make it classy as opposed to, like, you know, from previous installments. And it's true, actually, now that you mention it, Jake, this pyramid thing with the lights and the music and whatever is strongly reminiscent of the, like, glass whole mirror thing in Skyfall.
Yeah, they're both like quiet sequences that, you know,
They're like
gradually ratcheting up the suspense.
Here's the twist of the pyramid light show. I was reading about this. One, that's the actual light show that they still do at the pyramids. Like, that's a real thing that is still going on.
We do the same thing in Mexico with the pyramids.
Yeah, we do the same thing in Sioux Falls with water.
Yeah, what do you have?
We have a waterfall and oppression. And two, the guy doing the voice in the presentation.
Here on the plateau of Gizeh stands forever the mightiest of human achievements.
None other than Charles Gray.
Oh
He's back.
my God.
Good evening, Mr. Bond.
He's never leaving us.
Blofeld lives.
Blofeld lives, and
he's now working for the Egyptian tourist industry.
Yes. But now, if I may, on a serious note, what I really love about this pyramid sequence is, again, we've reestablished who James Bond the man is. Now we're bringing him, we're bringing Anya, we're bringing Jaws into the realm of ancient myth, of like primal Jungian archetypes, of like the realm of the pyramids. They're coming back into the land of Egyptian mythology, and they're all scoping each other out. And as they explain like how they interpret the myth, James Bond is moving into the realm of myth, like Osiris going into the underworld.
Troy, film school was a mistake.
No, I was like this when I was 12.
Get real.
But film school was a mistake.
They can't just
Correct.
say myth.
Yeah, you know what Mank was thinking when he wrote this?
Osiris.
The pyramids would be cool.
Mank didn't write this. This is Christopher Wood.
Yes, he did. Mank wrote everything.
Whatever.
Roger Moore's quote on that was, of course Mank wrote this. Mank's on every fucking page. Tell him he did a good job this time.
They didn't tell him that it wasn't Mank.
But yeah, it's pretty creepy, and then like genuinely like that shot of Jaws getting revealed with the light sends chills down my spine for some reason. And then we have this really goofy scene where it looks like Jaws is gonna like make out with some guy.
What's wrong with that?
Well, that's Jaws' recurring bit, is that this most of this movie is James Bond trying to find information from people, and Jaws just bites them before he can get
That's
to
what's
the
great.
guy,
Jaws
you know?
is like if Darth Vader, the shark from Jaws, and like Dracula all like teamed up and were like one guy. And Jaws is Richard Keel's so good in this.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
He's a big boy.
It's interesting to see Jaws actually trying to be intimidating in this after.
After
the
what they
next
do
movie.
to him, and they ruined Jaws in the next movie.
But yeah, so then James Bond meets Anya, and they get on a bus that's like driven by Jaws.
But
I don't know. I was high.
But the whole restaurant scene is so cool because she's in like a cool dress.
Yeah.
He's back in a tuxedo.
Oh yeah, the restaurant.
Finally.
Where he effing belongs. Back in his tuxedo.
Oh, and he gets a martini shaken, not stirred for the first time, Roger Moore.
Yes, and she knows his drink order.
For the gentleman, vodka martini, shaken, not stirred.
Again, James Bond is a famous person in this universe because he's the worst spy ever.
Well, the KGB, Agent XXX would know who Agent 007 is because they are aware of each other.
But I have to say that Bond knows XXX's order, and her order is honestly like the most weak sauce fucking thing. Just like, she'll have Bacardi on the rocks, and I'm like... That's fucking gross.
Look, she's
like,
Russian,
really?
Jake.
You're a Soviet agent, and you're just gonna go with like fucking Bacardi?
Jake, you know what Soviet agents drink? Just vodka on vodka with a dry shot of vodka. That's what Soviet agents.
That's what Soviets would drink, or like something that's like more interesting than I'll have rum with ice in it. Just like not even a mojito.
She's not a fiend for mojitos.
Not a fiend for the mojito.
I'm a fiend for mojitos.
Jake's sitting there shaking his head like, not even a mojito? Why isn't she ordering a mojito?
No, because Bond has at least a martini shaken, not stirred, and hers just like shitty ass rum with ice.
Yeah, I'm sorry that the Soviets have more practical.
It would have been awesome if she ordered like a screwdriver or something.
Yeah, that's at least a cocktail. So boring. Anyway, during the scene,
and they're like talking to each other and they connect and you get this classic Hollywood repartee.
Yes.
James Bond has a woman he's talking to as like an equal, like it's a meet cute at a bar, and you're like, oh.
Yes, cute. And then she mentions Tracy.
Many lady friends, but married only once. Wife killed.
All right, you've made your point.
You're sensitive, Mr. Bond.
About certain things, yes.
And then she's like, you're so sensitive. And it's like, fuck you. His wife died.
Well, to be fair, Bond killed her lover 2 weeks before.
Yeah, like...
But
guys,
you didn't know that.
No, but they don't they give each other gruff. That's what's great. They're actually equals. They give each other shit.
It would work more if Barbara Bach was less wooden.
Whatever. It works fine.
It's whatever, but I would have liked it to be less wooden. I would have liked if Anya was a little less wooden. Anyway, they go and meet.
She makes James Bond wooden.
No. Oh. I was going to say Roger Moore.
No.
No.
I will fight you. I will fight you. Roger Moore, George Lazenby is getting off the couch. He's putting down the tuna, and he will defend Roger Moore with me.
No,
Anyway,
I love Roger Moore in this movie. I think he's great.
No, he's fun.
Yeah, and then another man gets bitten to death, and then, they end up on the bus.
They end up on the, or no, it's not on a bus. It's a truck. It's a van.
They're on the truck.
Crucial information.
Crucial information. It's a van. Anyway, so I do like. We haven't really talked about Jaws yet, but before we do,
we did.
He's
but yes.
big.
Well, barely. We haven't talked about Richard Keel.
Richard Keel's great.
What's his deal? What's his story?
Richard Keel, what's his deal? What's his deal? Richard Keel.
Last time we had a small henchman, and now we have a big henchman.
Yes.
And that's it. So then they're in the van.
No. But Jaws is, next to Oddjob, probably the most famous Bond henchman in the series history. He's played by Richard Keel, who at one point was going to play the Incredible Hulk.
Yes, he was.
You might also know him from Happy Gilmore. He's Happy Gilmore's boss who gets a nail shot into his head. And
Jan's skeptical of Richard Keel's existence. I think we got a Richard Keel truther over here.
Yes, but in the book, The Spy Who Loved Me, there is a character named Horror who has metal teeth and is lanky and stuff, and they're just like, we can adapt this character. That'll be the only thing we bring to the screen. And I'm convinced that the reason why he's not called Horror like in the book is that contract said you can't use anything in this book. And then also Jaws had just come out.
Yeah,
and
also
just like,
Jaws had just come out was probably the bigger reason why he's
and so we have the most popular henchman next to Oddjob. So popular, he came back in the video game Everything or Nothing.
Yeah.
And Moonraker.
Is that in continuity with Moonraker?
They don't really mention anything from Moonraker.
Oh, no. Did Jaws get a divorce? We'll talk about that next
That's
week.
probably why he's so cranky. Anyway, so Jaws shows up before he kills the guy. He shows up in that van and he looks so fucking big. It looks like a clown car. His arms.
When he chokes James Bond in the train, like his hand is the same size as Roger Moore's face.
Oh, he's massive.
Yeah. He's fucking huge.
Jaws is like Wile E. Coyote talking about those facial reactions, Jake. Like, Jaws is always like, you just relate to him because he's always like,
yeah, no, he's just like smiling or like he's in pain, like,
Yeah, they do a good job doing all the bits you can do when a guy has metal teeth, you know?
Yeah.
He bites people. He bites metal.
You shock his teeth.
He shocks the teeth.
Then you use a magnet to pick him up.
Yeah. They exploit the possibilities, you know. It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
He's big.
And he's big.
So they sneak onto his van. They get taken to some ancient ruin site.
Yes.
You don't know what that is?
What is that?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Oh, I don't know.
Is that not in the big black book?
It's not in the big black book. I'm going in blind.
I imagine it's somewhere in Luxor. Not the Luxor.
Why does it look like Vegas?
It looks like Vegas. Why does it look like Vegas?
So yeah, they have a big fight with Jaws. Jaws fucks up the van with his bare hands.
Oh, but Anya is like killing it in this scene because Roger Moore's like going, ooh, and Anya's like pointing her gun, and then it switches to her trying to evade Jaws, and then they get in the car, and this was improv. This isn't in the script. Anya takes the wheel, and James Bond just starts heckling her, and apparently that was Roger Moore, who did not like Barbara Bach. He just improv'd all these lines where he's insulting her driving.
The key!
Try the big one. Can you play any other tune? Let's try reverse. That's backwards. Would you like me to try it? Women drivers.
Tactical foul! Tactical foul! That's a lady, and you will not speak about it that way!
Well, this is keeping in character with Roger Moore because in the past couple movies, he's very, very insulting and demeaning to his female coworkers.
He's charming, but he's also like...
But he's also just like a condescending asshole.
I know a place where we could rustle up a car.
Ah, beautiful, brave, and now resourceful. Rosie, you seem to be staging a remarkable comeback.
Now, get onto the license bureau and trace that car. A green rose.
A green rose?
A green Rolls Royce. A green Rolls Royce.
Tactical foul! Tactical foul!
That's when Melissa stopped watching the movie.
But she didn't get to see the part where he goes, women drivers, and then she backs into Jaws, and Jaws' hand shakes a little bit, and then she goes, shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, but not stirred.
And then I stood up and applauded.
Yeah, but he's still an asshole.
Yeah, he's still an asshole, but he lost. That's what I like about his dynamic of Anya, is he doesn't win every conversation. She gets the better of him again and again.
He says shaken, not stirred, and he rolls his eyes.
That scene in general is really good. Like, I really love those like really wide shots
human
where you
storytelling.
see like Jaws like very tiny in the background, just like walking over these ruins. I don't know why, but it's really creepy.
I like the shot of Anya kneeling, holding the gun up, and then he's like towering over, and you get the shot between his legs, like her pointing the gun at him.
Yeah,
there's so many cool shots in this movie, and like,
I mean, I think right after this we get this like insanely beautiful like sunset.
Oh
yeah! Oh my god! Yeah.
I think that's when the Lawrence of Arabia theme comes.
Yeah, that's when the Lawrence of Arabia theme comes in.
One bit in this ruin though that I had to make a note of. He tricks Jaws into hitting a beam that's holding up scaffolding, and then he gets trapped into the scaffolding. And then Roger Moore says, "Egyptian builders."
Egyptian builders?
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like,
I was like, that was racist.
No, apparently that was dubbed. Like, they added that late in production.
I'm like, what is
what's the joke?
Roger Moore hated Egyptian builders.
Like, is he making fun of the people doing the restoration of the ruins? Or does he think that the scaffolding was put up 5,000 years ago? And
Look, James Bond does not think about his one-liners. He just says them. Diarrhea of the mouth.
He just says words, and based on your expression, you can see if he thinks there's a joke in there.
Usually, his one-liners are based on this one group of people. What idiots. Yeah, that's the joke.
That's basically the joke.
It's like us with Bristol.
Oh man, if I swear to God, if I see another asshole,
we're done.
Idiots.
So they're on a boat.
Wait, can I point out what I love about this is they're still wearing the tuxedo and the dress like cartoon characters, and they are in these Egyptian ruins. Again, we're talking about the myth of James Bond here. The myth is that he's wearing a tuxedo at all times, and he's just running around, and that's what I love, how long they keep him in the tuxedo, because you're like, that is the platonic ideal of James Bond.
Well, it's kind of the Guy Hamilton thing, but played better, where it's like he's out of place all the time, and it's a little bit funny and uncanny when they get off the boat and he's like, wait a minute, I've been drugged, where am I, what's going on?
A woman seduces him and one-ups him on the boat.
It is a bit odd because they're in this boat trying to get back somewhere. She's kind of
flirting,
leading him on, and then drugs him, and then he's lost, and then he finds out she's
Money
at the
Penny.
base.
Yeah, he finds Moneypenny,
Yeah.
and in a return to the You Only Live Twice thing, where every time they move MI6's location to a different place, it's themed, and everybody's dressed in the theme, and it's great.
It's like when you go to a different land in Disneyland, and it's the same employee you saw 2 hours ago, but they're in a different
Like,
shirt.
hey, what is Gaston doing in Egypt?
Yeah. And Moneypenny has her desk. She doesn't say anything, but she's there. And then Bond and Anya go into the briefing with Gogol and M, who is called Miles. Both M and Q are called by their real names for the only time in this movie, which again adds to the chummy camaraderie of it all.
After you, Alexis.
Oh, no, after you, Miles.
Oh, thank you.
And they...
Significantly elevates the experience.
Yeah.
Troy is really scraping at the bottom.
I love this
bottom of the
movie.
trash
This
can.
is the good one. This is the good one.
You know what? I'm putting my foot down. Troy has a point.
Yay!
Troy has a point here, Jan.
No,
Don't be
he
mean.
doesn't. No, he doesn't.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Shut your pie hole. Otherwise, you're going to Bristol. I'm not taking you to
It's
Southampton.
Anything but that.
So they get on a train.
Yeah, they
Wait,
get on a train.
wait.
Well,
No, again, guys, we're skipping over the meat of the film. They do a microfilm presentation where they're doing detective work and they're trying to figure out.
And they're trying to one up each other during the meeting,
Yeah,
too.
and Bond's like oratory, a bishop, the Vatican, maybe some sort of pope. And she's like, no, that's the symbol for Stromberg. And then Bond's like, fine, I'll hand it to you. She is like one-upping him. They're tit-for-tatting each other. It's a slow courtship, because now I'm going to debut my razor hot take. This movie does the courtship better than On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Because you know what? When he meets Anya, James Bond does not try to have sex with another woman for the rest of the movie. He is laser focused on her personality, her little
Are you
quirks.
fucking kidding? Okay, this is where I don't agree.
No,
because
I actually agree with Troy on this
no,
one.
no,
he is very
he
flirty.
takes a break to fuck a bunch of chicken women.
He's very flirty with Numi and the hotel concierge.
No, but he doesn't have sex with them. He's just being cute. He doesn't have sex with them.
He propositions sex with the concierge when she delivers a message.
It's true. There's no bit where, he has a quick lay and then they get killed immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do like that this movie, like, it's the one woman Bond again, but this actually has like continuity to it. Like, they stick together through the whole movie. It's not like an hour passes and James Bond is having this weird orgy in Horse Piste or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
I think the way it's plotted is more effective. However, as it goes on, we'll get to that. But yes.
Yes. This is not Tracy. This is not.
No.
I cannot believe.
it's better than Tracy.
No, it isn't.
It's not.
Yes, Tracy is a paper dragon saved only by the performance. This is a well-written character, mildly hampered by an okay performance.
Do we need to just talk about how this doesn't have a resolution?
No, we're gonna get to that at the end, because that's the end of the
So they're on the
episode.
train. They're on the train.
All good Bond movies have a great train sequence, and this one does not disappoint.
This one's one of the best.
Yeah, I'm down. Like, this is a great.
Big
wait.
big guy.
Big guy.
Train.
Little
Little train.
Yeah.
And then he shock with the teeth, and then the James Bond and the sex.
Yeah.
I'm having a
And
stroke.
Bond bleeds. Bond's bleeding a little
He
bit.
bleeds.
Part of me was like, because Jaws is so much taller than Roger Moore, I'm like, now Roger Moore's gonna get shoved into a suitcase. That would have been great.
Yeah, it's like Jaws is like Knick-Knack was my brother. Revenge.
Revenge. We were twins.
We were twins.
He's like, this one's for Knick-Knack, and he kicks him out the train.
And then Roger Moore does a silly face. I love that Roger Moore is not afraid. Like, he does not look tough when he's getting beat up, and I love that about him. It's so endearing.
He looks old and frail.
Yeah, he looks
He looks
scared.
like he has no idea what he's doing whenever he's in a fight.
And I know, and it's endearing, because I wouldn't know what I would be doing if I was in a fight. I can relate to this James
Especially
Bond.
with a giant.
Oh, I'd be out of my depth. My whole arms would just be like, ah.
Well, and also he has metal teeth, and as we learn in Moonraker, he might have his balls are made out of steel too.
Oh yeah.
Divorced. That's probably why he got divorced.
Incredible movie.
So they get off the train.
Then they get to Sardinia.
Yes.
Sardinia, Italy.
And they meet up with Stromberg at the Atlantis base.
Yes.
The Atlantis base is so fucking cool.
Oh my god, I love the design of it.
James Bond is a marine biologist, and to quote him, what does he say about being a marine biologist?
You just pulled a me right there. Like, here's what he said.
I was so excited. I'm like, hold on. What does he say? He says, I'm a marine biologist. Oh, a marine biologist is never on holiday. That's what he says. Okay.
Where there's an ocean, a marine biologist is never on holiday.
Okay, but Jake, were you going to talk about some of these shots of the sea base?
Yes.
It's so cool.
We pan from the boat, and then it sweeps over, and then within the same shot, we see the Atlantis base. And I'm like, how the hell did they do that?
It looks incredible.
Yeah.
It's ambitious. It's not flawless effects, but oh my god, for this series, it's looking fucking awesome.
Yeah, no,
no, after the fucking blue screen and like You Only Live Twice, another Louis Gilbert banger.
Well,
like,
the blue screen later in the movie is pretty bad, but there's like great effects like that where it goes from the boat to the Atlantis base, and then you have that really cool shot of Stromberg looking out the window and you see his reflection as the boat's coming in too.
The shot in the window, Stromberg like floating over the ocean. Oh my god,
the matte paintings
artistry.
integrate really well.
The matte paintings. I think one of the shots early on where the helicopter takes off and you see people moving, you see the helicopter, you see what has to be a matte painting, and you really can't tell what's what. Like it's
no, actually, I have it in my notes. Mention how good the effects are, and I have the matte paintings, the blue screen, and then for some reason I have the motion capture. I don't know why. I think I watched this kind of high, and like for some reason the faces looked like mocap.
Roger Moore looks so real.
Bernard Lee looked like he was out of a Robert Zemeckis movie.
There are parts when Roger Moore is in the Lotus Spirit, his face does look oddly like digitally sanded off. I can't explain what it is, but I get what you're talking about.
Okay.
I can't explain it. They all look like Roy Kent when I was high.
Yeah.
There are so many people that look like Roy Kent in these movies, as we're finding out. PS3 people.
Yeah, but that shot where they're pulling up and the camera's like bobbing in the water.
It's bobbing in the water and then
very
sweeps
ambitious
over
for a 70s movie to try and make that motion match, and it looks pretty good.
And the evil layer looks like a spider. It's cool.
We get a spider. Also, Bond and Anya are posing as a married couple, incidentally, which I want to bring up because it's Moneypenny's only contribution to the film. She got them separate rooms, and Bond goes, "Oh, Moneypenny's being quite efficient."
Moneypenny being a little over-efficient.
And I'm
you
like,
think Moneypenny's still working at that toll booth, and this is just her part-time job now?
Oh no, she's stuck under the pyramid. They don't let her leave. She has to turn all the lights
She's
off.
a tour guide. Yeah.
You gotta close up the MI6 Egyptian tomb branch. The Adventureland MI6.
They call the bases the Adventureland base, the Tomorrowland base, the toll booth base. It's like, God help you if you get the toll.
A lot of bases, but this base is pretty great. But I feel like the meeting, I don't know, like any all the scenes where it's like, and here he is. It's kind of like,
it's serviceable.
Oh, I love when an underwater guy's like, come and look at my fish.
Well, and then he tries to test him, going like, "What is that fish?" And then there's like a beat. Well, it's a poisonous spine, and a bunch of fish try to avoid it if it's messed with.
And I do love that they play that beat where you're like, did James Bond do any preparation for this cover story? And you're really not sure.
Wait, his name is Roger Sterling. That's not a Mad Men character, is it?
That is a Mad Men character.
Yeah, I was like, I heard it this time. I'm like, oh, that's a Mad Men character.
He's the blackface man.
Oh, that's white John Slattery.
John Slattery, yeah.
Okay.
but they leave and there's a car chase.
Caroline, and a helicopter chase, and a motorcycle chase.
The car chase is the best thing ever.
Oh, and then the car drives off a cliff and drives into an old Italian man's house.
But wait, the motorcycle guy that's following them, and then they get him off the road, and then like you see him go down, and you see like the motorcycle hit.
All the crashes and the falls are pretty great and distinct.
Is this the helicopter?
Yeah, I believe it's also the helicopter.
Because the helicopter, it's like insane. Like,
yeah. The amount of squibs are on the side of the road.
Yeah, and I like just how low it's flying, how perfectly timed it is when it comes in and out of those like cliff roads. Like it's fucking insane.
Caroline Munro is like making kissy faces. My one critique.
Oh, I love that. When they make eye contact and it's like, oh man. You know?
My one, if I do have a critique of this movie, it is that Caroline Munro is in too little of it, and she should have been in more. But the way I did enjoy James Bond car, the Lotus Spirit given to him by Q, and our first, and what feels like our first, now pay attention 007 scene in a while.
Yeah. Now pay attention, 007. I want you to take great care of this equipment.
And then he just goes like, blah, 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 blah. Q, did I ever let you down?
Q, have I ever let you down?
Frequently.
And then it just cuts on Q, and he's just watching him drive off, and he just like breathes like, like he just knows that the car is gonna get fucked up.
Yeah, boy.
I love the decision of having the Q debriefing scene be like silent from the perspective of Anya, because then when the fucking car goes underwater, you're like, oh shit, we're back, baby.
And
James
thus,
Bond is back.
Spy Kids is born. Another classic film.
But it's great. The car is amazing. It has a surface-to-air missile that blows up the helicopter, which, as much as I'm disappointed to see her go, yes, if you're going to blow someone up, make it a surface-to-air missile from your Lotus Spirit. And then, again, you're like, oh, how does this work? And then Anya's like, yeah, I stole the blueprints to this car 3 years ago. Boom! She got him!
Yeah, she one-ups him again, yeah.
Oh my god, this movie is Spy Kids.
Yeah, that's why it's good.
That's why it's good,
like, Stromberg is the villain that's most like Floop, and it's basically like grown-up Carmen and Junie.
Well, except that Carmen and Junie were like in a relation. Jan, what have you done?
James Bond has sweaty hands.
No, I never said that.
Who wrote this? Mank? Did Mank write this?
Mank.
But yeah, wasn't it like an actual amphibian car at points? Like, I know that mostly it's a miniature.
Yeah, well,
but
the thing was, they built a seaworthy car, but it wasn't air sealed, so you still needed to have scuba diving gear to drive it. But most of it was, they had one of those that actually went underwater, and most of it is miniatures. And
well, it looks fucking cool.
It looks cool,
and the great scene where it comes out on the
of the water.
Oh yeah,
and the James Bond theme plays. That's amazing.
I think it's also like trying to ape off Jaws again, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god,
like dun dun. Like you could tell that this was gonna be like a teaser trailer, just like there's something coming. It's back. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
And I'll say, also on the beach, we get reaction shots from many different confused Sardinian beachgoers, and then sped up footage of a dog running away. Louis Gilbert will return to manipulated footage of animal reaction shots.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I look forward to The Spy Who Loved Me. Paul's looking forward to a freaking pigeon this whole podcast.
Yeah.
I really have been.
But we'll get to that. But we get the first, besides manipulating animal footage to have them react, we also get another staple of the next couple Bond movies. It is the same guy throughout these next three movies. The Italian guy who looks out drinking a bottle of wine, and he looks at the bottle after he sees the Lotus come out of the ocean.
Oh my god, you're right.
He's a recurring character, yeah.
He comes back more than Felix.
He comes back more than J.W. Pepper.
He probably got paid more than Moneypenny got paid.
Yeah, he probably did.
They're just like, okay, you just need to come back and you're going to be drinking the wine and you look at it. We're just going to keep using this gag.
To the point that he was part of the poster in For Your Eyes Only.
That's his legs. That's his legs on the poster, actually.
I thought that was Bernard Lee's legs.
Good God.
No, it's alcohol guy. Bernard Lee was dead.
Bernard Lee is alcohol guy.
You're right.
He's alcohol guy
in
off the
this
set,
series.
but on set, the actual alcohol guy.
Except for when the set is the one from the last week's movie, which was Topsy Turvy.
Don't mess with Mr.
Anyway, but then we get to the drama, quote unquote, with Triple X.
Oh my God, you guys are so freaking facetious. Raiders of the Lost Ark doesn't even try as much as this movie does.
No,
that's
don't.
That's why I
okay.
like Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's just fun.
Yeah.
No, this movie is aiming for something more. It's Roger Moore.
Much more. Roger Moore as James Bond 007.
It's aiming for... This is the movie. There's a beautiful scene. They're finally getting to like each other because they've had this slow courtship, this slow tit for tat, the slow romance of the movie playing out. And then he brings up the Alps. And then she realizes he was the guy who shot her lover point blank with a ski. And then... and she is heartbroken.
She's like, did you do it? And he's like, yeah. And then she's just like...
And she's heartbroken.
Yeah.
What, you want her to break down sobbing? Like, what do you want from her in this scene? Is I guess what I'm asking.
That's the thing, Troy. I don't want any of this.
But that's where you guys are off. James Bond, this movie realizes its potential of actually being a movie. It's not just some lame play set of misogyny.
Whoa.
All right.
I don't understand, Troy, when you consider a James Bond movie just being like, this is mean, and then being like, this is mean, which is a deconstruction.
It is mean because it's a deconstruction, because Roger Moore has to take a moment and actually give a performance of saying,
I do like that. I actually do like this.
Playing it. Barbara Bach.
Not so much.
I feel you guys are maybe asking for too much. I don't know what you guys were expecting Barbara Bach to do to sell it.
Well,
I guess
don't
is
know
my
her
point.
as an actor outside of this movie, so no, I'm not expecting much from her, and I'm not getting all. You know?
If you want to see something from Barbara Bach, watch the Ringo Starr movie Caveman. Masterpiece.
That's where they met, right?
No, it's actually a shit-ass movie.
But this is one of my favorite moments in the series where James Bond actually... And what I like about Roger Moore, and it's different from like what Craig would do with it or what Dalton would do with it. Connery would never do it, but which is my issue with Connery. But he's accepting it. He is somewhat aware. He realizes there's been a human loss here, but he's like, look, people die. I acted in self-defense. This is our line of work. And she accepts that, but she's also like, I have to do an honor killing. And they both are still able to co-work together, even though she's like, I'm going to kill you at the end of this mission. And he accepts it. Roger Moore's Bond is the Bond of radical acceptance of what his life is. And I love that about him. That's why he's my favorite.
Well, he does feel guilty.
We still have to see how this turns out in the ending, because is he just anticipating that all he has to do is, raise an eyebrow and this is going to wave away, which is what happened.
Well, yeah, because he's James Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't. That's the thing. I don't think he's accepting it that he's gonna die. Yeah.
He doesn't know. Wait, guys, you've completely misread me. I'm not saying he accepts he's going to die. He never accepts he's going to die. What he accepts is that other people die by his hand.
That would be a disaster if Bond accepted that he was going to die.
Yeah, James Bond accepting his own mortality sounds like the lamest fucking shit ever.
Yeah, that would be a terrible movie. Do not get me wrong. If they ever make a movie, if they let one of those morons from Bristol dictate that James Bond is going to be in a movie where he intentionally accepts his own mortality, I wouldn't accept that, because James Bond is Bugs Bunny. He does not accept his mortality. What he does accept is that sometimes there's stupid hunters and cowboys who are going to get shot in the face because they messed with him. And that is the core.
Wait,
I agree.
Georgie Fukunaga from Bristol?
No, he's from Oakland, I think. California.
Well, but he has Bristol mentality for sure.
Bristol!
Well, now we have our literally our 40-minute long climax.
It opens with Lewis Gilbert, a Lewis Gilbert signature, I want to note. Last time he did Bond, we had a spaceship eat another spaceship. Here we have a boat
eat another
boat. Well, it's a sub.
Yes.
This is very important. That
Yes,
we need to
give it to me.
He's such a good director.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, it's so funny in the behind the scenes. Lewis Gilbert is just like, yeah, so in You Only Live Twice, we had a ship that ate another ship. So this one we had a tanker that ate, initially it was a boat, but then it was a sub. I don't think anyone noticed that it was the same.
There's such dread when the submarine is brought up in the Stromberg, when they capture. Oh my God, we did skip over the whole weird a major's a woman thing.
Oh yeah, haven't you seen a major take a shower? And you're just like, what?
What's the matter, sailor? You never see a major taking a shower before?
Anyway, and we're going back to, so when the sub gets taken up, there's dread. Lewis Gilbert lets the moment breathe, and we get to check in with everyone on the crew. And we really establish a bond with the people on the crew because they're people. This is a movie about people.
Something like that. Okay.
I do want to bring up one point. It's really funny how we had the scene before where Anya finds out that Bond killed her lover. And it's this very serious scene where Bond is wrestling with, well, I had to do it, but he also feels guilty. And I'm going to kill you afterwards. Literally the next shot, they're being lowered onto the submarine and they're like strapped together. And then he like tries to do a wry smile at her. And she's just like pissed at him. Like, like just gives him like the dirtiest fucking look. And you're just like, what the fuck? This is a weird total whiplash.
That's so funny when James Bond is like,
he's just like, so how's it going?
Yeah. And she's like, I'm going to kill you. Again, maybe that just reminds me of my past couple of relationships, but like, this is like,
That's marriage in a nutshell.
Yeah, Melissa's gonna like kill you, and I can see you just smiling at her like.
So anyway, they get eaten by a ship, by a giant oil tanker. They all have to leave. Bond and Anya try to disguise themselves to just blend in, but then
they're like a girl.
Yeah,
and they
do karate, and then Stromberg takes them up to his lair, reveals his evil scheme, and that's where we already talked about. Do you want money? No, I want to live with the fishies.
All right, Stromberg, you've made your point. How much do you want?
I'm not interested in extortion. I intend to change the face of history.
By destroying the world?
By creating a world, a new and beautiful world beneath the sea.
He just loves water. It's so cool.
Like I said, he's James Cameron.
He's Kyle's dad from South Park, like when he tries to turn into a dolphin.
He also reminds me, there's an episode of Batman, the animated series called Deep Freeze.
Is this the Walt Disney guy?
Yeah, where not Walt Disney is building Epcot underwater, and he just wants everyone to live underwater. I think they've said it's a takeoff on The Spy Who Loved Me, where it's like, this guy just wants to live underwater.
Who can't relate?
It's such a wacky idea.
But this tanker's gorgeous.
Oh, we should talk about...
Jake, are we talking about the Coobs?
Oh, the Coobs? I mean, you can bring up the Coobs first, yeah. I'm not talking about the Coobs.
What's the Coobs?
So, the film was shot by Claude Renoir. That's right, it's shot by a Renoir. It's predictably beautiful.
Is it like his son or something?
I don't know how Claude Renoir is related. Don't change the subject.
I'm gonna look this up right now.
I'm gonna Google how he's related. He is the nephew of Jean Renoir.
Jean?
Yeah, he's the nephew of Jean Renoir, grandson of painter Pierre Auguste Renoir. Yeah, so he's connected.
Okay.
He got sick when they were shooting this tanker scene. So they were like, who's gonna light the fight on the tanker? So Ken Adams is like, I know a guy. So he calls up his good friend, Stanley Kubrick. And he's like, Stanley, can you light and maybe ghost direct the scenes on the tanker? And Stanley Kubrick is like, tell no one, but I will shoot this
my
scene.
God.
So the stuff on the tanker is shot by Stanley Kubrick. That's right, folks. The Spy Who Loved Me is the Stanley Kubrick made James Bond movie. Come at me.
That's true.
That's insane. I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is Stanley Kubrick.
I did hear that like the set for this was so big that they had to build a soundstage.
That's what I was going to talk about. This is the famous 007 stage built just for this movie to house this giant oil tanker set. And it was like the crown jewel of Pinewood Studio. It still is. Used in a bunch of movies, including Superman, Legend. It got burnt down during the production of Legend, and then they had to rebuild it, and they renamed it from the 007 stage to Albert R. Broccoli's 007 stage.
And then it blew up after they made Casino Royale there, and they had to rebuild it again.
Yeah.
After Woody Allen burped.
Can you imagine Stanley Kubrick being a part of a set that's so massive and so perfectionist that they don't know what to do with it afterwards, and they have to keep using it for other stuff?
I know.
It's cool.
This is the quietest this episode's ever been.
There's some We Only Live Twice parallels, of course. He frees a bunch of guys, a bunch of murder.
You get an international coalition where people are named. This feels like a war movie for a second. You have different guys. They're strategizing. They're like, how do we best attack the base? And you get to know the brave souls who get shot.
Once again, kind of playing the hits. Bond has to defuse a nuclear warhead. And he says, look, there has to be a first time for everything. And then we cut to a reaction of a guy doing a gulp, you know, which I think is like, that's the kind of thing that obviously Guy Hamilton did, but the reaction shot, I think, is different. Like, the tone is managed differently.
Yeah, it's a serious scene. Louis Gilbert gives the scene its proper weight.
Yeah.
And he'll have silly stuff, but it's like, I don't know, it's more managed in terms of its tone than a Guy Hamilton production.
Yes, it's more managed. And this is after Stromberg's captain has died. And even though he works for the villains, Bond like sits with him. He like talks to him as he dies. And again, there's weight. The stakes have weight. Death carries weight. It hangs over the whole movie, death. And it
death and myth.
The Bond isn't particularly gentle with the guy with Stromberg's captain. He's just
he makes love to him.
Well, the guy's also an asshole because he's just like, you're too late. They already have their orders.
You're too late, Bond. Our submarine's already on station. In 4 minutes, the missiles will be launched.
I don't interpret that as being an asshole. I interpret that as deathbed regret.
Is the captain the guy that looks like Mel Brooks in Spaceballs?
Yes.
I guess.
He has a little mustache?
Yeah, he has a little mustache.
Are you just thinking of the first person with a mustache in your head?
No.
Looks like
the
that.
first person with a mustache I think of is that scene. Are we already?
Jesus.
Wait.
It's Pierce Brosnan from Quest to Camelot.
Quest for Camelot.
My only thing with this whole climax is that, one, I do think it goes on a bit too long.
It drags.
It's not that
it
bothers me. It drags a little bit.
Yeah.
And two, it is kind of like, you know, the layer and the army and the villain and all of this. I'm like, okay, Louis, you're kind of doing You Only Live Twice again.
But this is better than You Only Live Twice.
It is better than it is much better in every way.
I agree, but it is like the transportation cards that go on like a monorail thing. It's like the people dressed in red and all that shit.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
like it better.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, no, and then we get the hilarious thing. I don't know. I do find it funny that we cut to the submarines where Stromberg's men are preparing to nuke New York and Moscow.
I love how they don't question the coordinates. Like, wait a second, that sounds like the coordinates of the other submarine. Yeah. I mean, they're launching nukes at each other. You could literally do it like a little bit off, so like it doesn't get their attention. No, they give them the exact coordinates, so they're in like ground zero of where that nuke is gonna go off.
Yes, and it's like, and it's just so funny because you're watching the animation, and because you've already seen the guys in the sub, you're just imagining them waiting, and then it's like,
and then we cut to stock footage
of nukes going off in the ocean. Terrific.
It turns into Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Better than Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
A movie that has come out.
That is going to come out in like 2 years.
Oh, God, guys, this whole narrative of when these movies is coming out, I'm getting lost.
Can we talk about Stromberg getting shot in the balls?
Yes. No, because now we're at that part. So Anya's been captured. James Bond's on is he on the water bike?
He's on the water bike that Q gives him. He's like, Q gave me this package. And then he looks inside the package, or the captain looks inside the package. He's like, what the hell is this? And it's just like the handrail. And then cut to Bond is on the jet ski going like, with the da-na, gets to Atlantis. Sneaks on board. Stromberg is going like, yes, get into my elevator. And he hits the button that opens the trap door that leads into the shark tank.
Oh, and it's great. And Bond...
Nothing drops into the shark tank. The elevator comes up. Bond is just like, care if I drop in or something like that.
Yeah.
You did want me to drop in.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Also, I must mention, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but he's having like a fancy dinner with like an oyster platter. And right next to him, there's this jar of Tabasco sauce. That made me laugh.
Well, oysters and Tabasco isn't that what you eat oysters with?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've heard of people using Tabasco.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah.
I mean, yes, but I don't think like classy aristocrats.
Stromberg is a bayou boy, Jan.
Yeah,
Jan, he has webbed hands.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's a work of fiction. Just roll with it.
Anyway, so Stromberg has a gun that fires like a missile at Bond's balls, but Bond ducks out of the way just in time, and Bond goes like,
You shot your boat, Stromberg. Now it's my turn.
and shoots him like 3 times in the balls.
He shoots him through the tube, and then he gets up, and then he shoots him more times. He has his, you've had your 6 moment.
And like Stromberg has plenty of time to just get up.
No.
Yes.
To get up after getting shot in the balls?
No, before he gets shot in the balls.
But he doesn't think James knows where the tube works, though.
Well, he just saw the thing get fired out of the tube.
He has his gun in the tube.
So this was a fun thing I was reading. Apparently, Roger Moore changed the staging of this on the day. He was supposed to stay behind the chair at all times, so they reinforced the chair so it wouldn't go through. But then he was like, it'd be more suspenseful if I sat in the chair. So he sat in the chair, and he actually had to like dodge, and they actually did fire all that live ammunition like right at Roger Moore, and he got like a little burned apparently, like around the shirt.
The 70s were awesome.
Yeah,
I miss them so much. So like, do we think I flip flop if I think that this is like an awesome death scene or just lame as fuck?
I love it.
I do love this death scene. I mean, nothing is greater than a villain that you hate getting shot a bunch of times in the dick.
Yeah.
No, I mean that part is cool, but I don't know. Like after Kananga, I don't know how I can go back.
Well, I'm not a big fan of Kananga's death scene, admittedly.
Jen, you don't understand. Let me repeat this. He shoots him in the dick several times.
You're right. Yeah, it's awesome.
Phallic imagery, Jan.
Jan, he walks over and he shoots him in the head, and we cut on Stromberg's corpse, open-eyed, shuddering a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, 10 out of 10 for the villain's death, yeah.
So anyway,
Bond goes to the Death Star, and he finds Jaws in the Death Star, and realistically, he's out of bullets. Once again, the consequences of Bond's actions are coming back to haunt him.
No, the gun's jammed. He shoots him once, but he shoots him in the teeth, and then the gun jams, and then he unjams the gun. Yeah.
Oh, and then he's out.
And then he's out, and then he has a fun fight scene with Jaws in the room where the sharks are, or where the trap door is.
Oh my god!
And then he uses the magnet to pick him up and drop him in with the shark. And we're just like, oh, well, this is the villain's goodbye, Jaws. He's gonna get killed by a shark. No, Jaws fucking bites the shit out of the shark and fucking kills it.
Yeah, that was added after test screenings.
Yeah. It makes sense. It's like you have this indestructible like guy with fucking shark teeth. Of course he's gonna like fucking kill the shark.
He's big.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic of the shark tank, we didn't mention it earlier, but the arm of Stromberg's secretary is still like floating around in there.
Oh yeah, because it's right there when he's disguising earlier in the movie.
That is attention to detail, baby.
Death hangs over this whole movie.
Myth.
Imagery. Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth.
I am laughing at this, but I slightly agree with you, Troy.
Louis Gilbert put thought into it.
Anyway, he rescues Anya. They escape in the escape pod. They get launched out. Jaws survives the wreckage and
swimming into the sunset.
It's just like the ending of Jaws.
Yes. I used to hate the water. I can't imagine why.
Don't we think it's kind of lame as fuck that Anya just is a damsel in distress at the end?
No, because that shows the spy who loved me. She realizes James Bond is both the distributor of death and the distributor of life. And it's like, well, of course I almost died. We all almost died. So then when she's pointing the gun at him in the escape pod and James Bond in characteristic Bond fashion is like, drink?
A Dom Perignon 52.
Dom Perignon 52. She's about to shoot him because of honor. But then it pops and he looks like a doob.
And she breaks a smile a little bit.
Yeah, a little smile. And then she's smiling and it breaks the tension in classic romantic comedy fashion. The tension is broken and it's like, what are we doing? We're a bunch of silly
This
murderers.
is a non-ending.
Classic rom-com. Your supposed honor killing is disrupted by a smile and little champagne.
Yeah, because it's a fantasy. He murdered her boyfriend with a ski.
It is a non-resolution and non-ending, and that is fine. That is fine.
Have you ever seen the movie Swing Time with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers?
Enough about Fred Astaire. Fred Astaire has nothing to do with this.
Yes, it
Okay,
does.
enough bringing up the people of Bristol
I'm going to keep talking and my
Fred
audio
Astaire.
will be pristine. So Fred Astaire is going to marry another woman, and Ginger Rogers is going to marry another man. And there's no way out of this. There's no logical reason they get together. And then Fred Astaire is like, wait, I'm in love with another woman. And then Ginger Rogers is like, I'm in love with another man. And they just start laughing because it's so ridiculous. So Fred Astaire is just laughing and he tells his friends, and then they start laughing. And then they go to Ginger Rogers' wedding, and they steal the guy's pants, and they fuck up his pants, and then they start laughing. And Ginger Rogers is like, I won't laugh. This is serious. We're broken up. Nothing will...
Thank you, Miss Moneypenny. That's all. That's all.
Well, I do have one thing to say about that final scene. I always misremember the final scene between Anya and Bond, because I always thought in my mind that she is aiming the gun at him, and then she, instead of shooting him, shoots the bottle.
Yeah. That's
and
what
then
I
she
thought happened
smiles,
too for a
going
second.
like, ha ha ha. You see, it got you, because she's already gotten over the death of her lover because Bond saved her. But then watching it again, I'm like, wait, no, she just decides to stop.
No,
no, don't go into a Fred Astaire rant again.
People have emotions, and they make decisions based off their emotions, and the popping of the cork breaks the emotional stranglehold.
And that's all it took, baby.
That's all it took.
Because they
So
spent
anyway,
this whole
okay,
movie.
Troy, I'm cutting you off. They bang, a submarine comes and picks them up. Bond and Anya are going like, what do we tell our supervisors? And Bond's like, they won't have to know.
But James, what would our superiors say?
They're never going to know.
Meanwhile, they get taken aboard the submarine or boat or wherever they're at.
Bond should learn at this point that if he's in a raft with a lady having just blown up a base, M is definitely watching and probably touching himself.
And it's Louis Gilbert, so this is like a better version of the ending of You Only Live Twice, because You Only Live Twice ends with, they'll never find us out here, and then the sub comes up and they're just on top and there's no like payoff. I will say that this is one of the best Bond endings ever, because the same thing happens, but then you add, they get taken aboard and they look through the window and Gogol, M, and Q are going like, and the other British guy are just going, Bond, XXX, what do you think you're doing?
007.
007. XXX. Bond, what do you think you're doing?
And then Bond has the greatest line of all time. And he says,
Keeping the British hand up, sir.
Pulls back the curtains. And then it gets into a British sailor rendition of Nobody Does It Better.
Makes me feel
Roll
sad
credits.
for the rest. Incredible ending.
Nobody does it half as good as you. Baby, you're the best. Let's get to our final thoughts on the movie. Troy, what did you think of The Spy Who Loved Me?
Why am I going first?
Because we need to get your manic rants out of the way.
Fine. Roger Moore's mole, it disappears in some shots. I'm not really a fan of that. I feel we're not really committing to the mole anymore. This is not a Moody's Point mole. This is a capricious mole. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10.
Wow.
I know.
You're just off today.
It's a criticism. It's just crazy. The Spy Who Loved Me. James Bond was not capable of true cinema before this movie. He was not able to do it. True cinema is about characters and reacting and emotions coming together.
You're insulting the Bond series, and now you're going off on another.
Yeah, The Spy Who Loved Me. The James Bond series has always been held back by its misogyny, by its incredibly strange, disjointed storytelling, and by the fact that its main character doesn't care about shit. This movie says, why don't we not do that and let's tell a story with a main character, a love story that goes through the whole movie about two equals, a villain who is suitably menacing and is the focus the entire time. You have globetrotting, you have beautiful special effects, you have beautiful vistas, you have wonderful comedy, you have gadgets. This is everything you want from a James Bond movie. And unlike other later James Bond movies that work as cinema, it doesn't take itself that seriously. You have the specter of death, but done in a light comic booky tone. This movie is the beautiful souffle that the rest of the series wishes it could be. Nobody does it better. This movie is like my 245th favorite film of all time. It is a masterpiece. It is the greatest film. If you were only going to watch one James Bond movie to get, why would someone possibly like this? Watch The Spy Who Loved Me. It is a masterpiece. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. Nobody does it better.
I gotta clap for that. I mean, you should write the Criterion essay when
I will.
Released.
Cowards.
That was surprisingly articulate and heartfelt.
Right, girl.
Do I go now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Okay. The Mole. Troy is wrong. My thing with The Mole with this one is this movie's so good that you don't even see the mole. The mole disappears. The mole's in the background.
So Troy thinks that's a detriment, but you're going the opposite route.
I want this mole as far away from me as possible. So since I couldn't really notice it this time, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. The movie itself, despite the debate that we've had in this episode, I gotta agree with Troy and say this is so far my favorite James Bond movie. I think.
Whoa! What?
To me, this is the quintessential James Bond movie. Like, if I was gonna show an alien what a James Bond movie is, this is it. This has everything. And it has it in spades. It does it extremely well. It's fun. It's tense. It's well paced. It's got awesome stunts. It's got awesome sets. And I do like the fact that James Bond is a one-woman man again.
Exactly.
And it's kind of a love story. You know, I do like that they give that continuity. I like the one-woman Bond. I'm that kind of guy. I do disagree with Troy about the whole like Joseph Campbell myth bullshit, but
that's fine. You can disagree with that. I'll concede on that as long as you like it.
But I do think this movie is absolutely fantastic. It's a blast. It's really pretty to look at. And it's one of those movies that I could watch pretty much every day. I am going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. I love it.
Holy fucking shit.
Louis Gilbert's my man.
Louis Gilbert's the shit, man. Louis Gilbert owns shit.
Now you gotta watch Alfie.
Alfie.
I've seen Alf.
I was watching Alf, the animated series, last night.
I've seen that too. It's fun.
Anyway, I'm glad that you guys really like it. Troy, I do agree with you on most of your points of their decision to distill Bond to the basic essence, and that's the main strength of this movie. And I do love it because of that. And also on top of that, Jan, you already mentioned the set pieces, the stunts, especially that opening stunt is one of the best James Bond moments ever. Having said that, it's weird. This movie, I go from being like, it's okay, but every single time I watch it, I like it a little bit more and more now. Roger Moore, if you will.
Much more. Roger Moore as James Bond 007.
But
You can't do that. We already made that joke.
It's fine. I'm giving him permission.
I made that joke 2 episodes ago. Anyway.
Yeah, but I made it better.
Yeah.
That's true.
You're the you only live twice, and Troy is the spy
I'm
who
the
loved
spy
me.
who loved me. Oh, God, wait, Jan. Wait, will Jan or Paul be Moonraker?
Obviously, we know who Moonraker is.
Paul's the pigeon in Moonraker specifically.
Yeah, so I went from not loving this movie and just kind of thinking it's okay. But I have to say that in the past couple times I've watched it throughout the last 3 years or so, I like it more and more. It's still not quite on the level for me of Goldfinger because I still think Goldfinger is the standard of like what to expect in a James Bond movie. The Spy Who Loved Me is certainly an example of that, but I also kind of think Barbara Bach is a little wooden and I kind of want that extra oomph from her character. I do think that the end is a little flabby, especially when we have to spend 5 minutes figuring out how the submarine is going to get out of the oil tanker. But other than that, yeah, this is a really good time. I'm so used to thinking that the Moore movies are just like the lame kind of just...
Oh no, they're trash. Except this one.
Well,
they take turns.
It's just like the mediocrity, or the mediocre Bond movies where they're just playing it safe. And the past couple movies is just like, no, Live and Let Die is just bad and boring. Man with the Golden Gun, pretty fun. And then Spy Who Loved Me is a fucking work of art compared to both of those, especially compared to the past couple Bond movies since On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So I will say that this movie might be going up a little bit in my ranking. I still think that most of the Pierce Brosnan movies are better. I still think that most of the Sean Connery movies are better. I think 2 of the Daniel Craig movies are better. But this still is a really great time and an excellent example of the Bond series. I'm giving this one, a 7 out of 10, 3.5 out of 5, or maybe 4 out of 5. Somewhere between a 3.5 or a 4. Fun time. As for the mole, it's a good mole. It's still there.
It has not changed.
10 out of 10. Good mole.
Good mole. Good job, Mole.
Mole! Bloody mole!
Producer Paul.
A mole. I noticed the mole sometimes, and when I noticed it, I didn't like it. So I'm going to give it like a 6 out of 10 for the mole.
It's divisive.
Yeah, the mole was divisive.
We're not on the same page with the mole, folks.
We are not on
This
the
is a
same
very
page.
contentious discussion, even though we all like the movie, but we completely disagree about that mole.
We disagree on the virtues of the mole like we disagree about the virtues of Bishopton in Bristol, that small neighborhood.
We disagree about the mole and about Joseph Campbell's hero's journey in this movie.
But yeah, okay, this Bond movie, this is definitely the closest to a quote-unquote real movie we've had so far. It is pretty damn good. It's one of the best. I'll say, yeah, I mean, a much-needed course correction. Guy Hamilton's reign of terror has ended. And but I think overall, this is a good example of one that you can show people, especially from the earlier era, like pre-90s, really, where, you know, there's nothing too horrific where you don't want to show the uninitiated and have them run screaming out of the room. This is pretty much devoid of that kind of stuff, which is a plus. It's a big plus. In their course of refining the formula, I mean, this is a movie where, yeah, they're trying to go back to basics. They're trying again. They're spending money, and they're playing the hits. I mean, pretty much everything in this movie we have seen before, but it is done a little bit better. My only complaints, I think I told Jake this the other night, my really only complaints revisiting this was some of the writing and performance of Triple X and our bad man leave a little bit to be desired. But even that I can, it's not a make or break, obviously. The only thing that made me question, is this maybe not the most real movie, is just something about, this ain't no Hunt for Red October, because something about anytime there are military men on a submarine talking on the phone, it's like a narcoleptic moment. I'm like, what? Where was I? What?
Well, that sounds like a you problem.
I guess so.
You should probably get that checked out.
That sounds like your dementia talking.
I don't know why.
I agree with you. And
you know what? Let's go dig up Lewis Gilbert and yell at him because he made a movie where naval officers pick up phones.
I know. It's bad and he shouldn't have done it.
No, but for some reason, I know exactly what you're saying. Like, the exact same thing happened to me with the new Mission Impossible movie. I was like, I loved it, but I don't like military people on a boat.
Well, it's like, where are they going to go? They're just stuck there, like, making plans.
Paul.
All right.
What do you give this movie?
No, yeah, so this is like, I don't know, like a 7.5 or something. This is definitely one of the best pre-Brosnan. I'm excited to get to those. I'm also excited for next week.
Oh, yeah.
Next week, For Your Eyes Only, as the movie told us.
That's right.
Yep, next week, For Your Eyes Only. There won't be another movie in 1977 that will blow For Your Eyes Only out of the water.
Oh, of course not.
Out of the water of the ocean base.
Out of the Atlantis. It's going to shoot your dick off.
Guys, I have something for the listeners at home that I wanted to ask you three. When we rate the Bond movies, are we rating them on like an objective 5-star scale, which is what I've been doing? Are we rating them on like Bond movie?
No,
like
of course not. There's no way to rate these as real movies.
We're not rating them on it.
Wait, I've been rating them as real movies the entire time.
No, rate them as real. They're real movies. They're fun. They're fun to escapist Bond shit.
As we've established, Troy, this one is sort of a real movie, so your rating can be the same.
Oh, yay!
Last week is completely different.
Oh my God!
No, I
Somebody
still give that an 8 out of 10 while acknowledging that the Man of Golden Gun is not a real movie.
Why did I choose you people to be on this Bond podcast?
These movies are fucking awful.
I am a lone fighter in this.
Look, I like James Bond too, with reservations.
He's putting that in scare quotes for the audience.
Yes, I like James Bond. I just, like any good relationships, he has his limitations, but The Spy Who Loved Me was the one time he didn't let me down. He took me out to a nice dinner. He listened to what I had to say.
Yeah, it's an abusive relationship. The Spy Who Loved Me is when he comes home with flowers and is really nice to you.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry about all that stuff I did on the swamp boat. Here are some flowers. Let's go out.
No,
my friend, I'm not talking to that guy anymore. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think he's really changed. I think he's really, and then we get Moonraker.
You elitist pricks.
Are you really making this like James Bond is the movie of the working class?
Wait, who, me?
No, Jake.
Let me have my dumb cartoon fun.
We do, Jake, and we're watching your dumb cartoon fun with you. And this week, it was so cartoony and so much fun.
Yes.
Okay. All right, but yes, as the credits say, the For Your Eyes Only is up next, but it isn't really because a little unknown movie called Flash Gordon,
Space Force,
Space Man,
Space Balls,
Space Battle,
Howard the Duck.
That will be a different 3-hour rant about the monomyth.
Anyway, so next week, because of this movie, we didn't get For Your Eyes Only. You'll have to wait another week, because next week is Moonraker.
Yeah! Finally, Paul gets his reward.
Paul gets his pigeon.
Yeah, next week, Paul gets on a rant about a pigeon.
It's all coming together.
Yeah.
The monomyth of the pigeon.
The monomyth of the pigeon.
Death and myth. Emotions.
Guys,
anyway,
I'm just saying,
see you
James
next
Bond
time.
descends into the underworld. He has to go
Goodbye,
underwater.
folks.
He
Goodbye.
descends